All right, that's better. Anyway, what happened here? Gotta get this mic right. No audio. Okay. I'm sorry. That makes it even worse. Take two. All right. So cringe, so bad. But now we can actually start the stream. I had to start with a little Timbaland. I had to start with a little bit of old school Timbaland beat there. And we did. But the audio wasn't on. That was the problem. That was the problem all along. On this very professional, well-prepared stream that I have for you. A massive, brilliant stream. Oh wait, it's not in Britain for once. It is not in Britain, and once we could actually just, watch the fights in prime time in the United States. What do you know? Yeah. So that's right. That was, hold on, let's do it again. Oh, I missed it. Drop the beat again. Okay. Okay, we get it now. We had to groove to something to start the stream, okay? Had to do something. Someone's got to take one for the team and look stupid to get the stream going. And seeing as how it's a one-man stream, that leaves it to me to look stupid to get the stream going. Now, we are for a massive, brilliant show from the Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia. Oh, just kidding. It is not a UK fight. It is Keyshawn Davis against Nahir Albright. And I asked the question. Yesterday on the channel. I asked the question yesterday on my channel. I asked it yesterday. Did Keyshawn Davis, hold on. Was he leaving the door open ajar? Was he leaving the door open a little bit for Nahir Albright? We asked the question yesterday. And now, now here we are. Fight night, Saturday night. We're going to start with Kelvin Davis against Pistol Pete Dobson. Pistol Pete from from New York. Okay? Shout out to the great city of New York, my hometown. But Kelvin Davis going up against Pete Dobson. And then we got the main two fights. Brian Norman Jr. against Josh Wagner. And the rematch between Keyshawn Davis and Nahir Albright. I got Keyshawn winning the fight. But just curious how he performs tonight with everything going on with him heading into the fight with the weigh-in. And him being a little... just not the same energy he was heading into the Jermaine Ortiz fight. I said apathetic was too strong a word, and I said it because obviously he cares about winning his next fight and winning it by stoppage and moving on. But he's a little apathetic too heading into this fight. So we'll see what's going on. Anyways, with Santana and Cruz, a tale as old as time. Mexican fighters with multiple losses kind of exposing an undefeated prospect. Or just straight up exposing them. I wasn't scoring the fight. I had to take a quick nap before the stream. Had a big day with my son and my family. My son's baseball finale for his Little League was today. Vegas sun is hot. Wears you out a little bit. You come home, eat something, take a nap, get ready for the live stream. But I woke up around the fourth round and saw Cruz having plenty of success. Had to prepare the stream. Was also watching the fight at the same time. Not able to score the fight. But it looked like Cruz was doing good, and the crowd in Norfolk didn't like the decision. And, shout out to Carlos Adames, who proves that this isn't always the case, but it just seems like, man, a lot of fighters from the Caribbean, not so much Puerto Rico, although that could be the case with Puerto Rico too, even though they've produced tons of great champions and like our guy Steve Santiago, who's always visiting the channel, will remind me, they've had maybe more champions per capita than just about any other place in the history of boxing. A lot of places from the Caribbean kind of produce front runners, and Jan Santana, um, got off to a good start in that fight, and then Cruz took whatever he had, started to walk through him a little bit, and it's old, Mexican fighters from Mexico who have multiple losses but become durable, savvy pros, tough pros in their own right. They're the guys who say, that's cool, you have 13 knockouts and 16 wins. Has anyone just taken your best punches, walked through them, and punched you in your mouth before to see how you react to that? And that's what we got to see from Santana, how he would react from Christian Cruz tonight. Looked like a fight that could have went either way from what I was watching. So I understand the booing from the crowd tonight. But anyways, what's up, Raphael32 saying it was a top-ranked robbery special. King of Kings says, Sean, what's good, brother, from Chicago? Shout out to Chi-Town. Thank you for joining us. Ryan Roebuck says, Nahir is from the Biddy, Philadelphia, he's saying. So it's different. Sean, don't be lifting that iron, Martha. I actually had a great week of working out this week. I finally on my dieting. I was eating all protein all week, and grapes and oranges and apples. I didn't like how your boy didn't have his cuts on point on the Porterway podcast last Sunday. That was a little bit of all right. Let me chill on the spinach artichoke dips and the Shake Shacks and the Chick-fil-A 3 orders of fries and the sodas, and let's get it right. Let's get all the way in shape. So that's what time we are on right now. But got almost 100 people in here already. Go ahead. Call your sisters and brothers and nephews of appropriate age and nieces and grandmothers and tell them to hop on the stream if they aren't already. Send your brothers, tell your mothers, send a telegram. So, all right, here comes Kelvin Davis to the mat. He has the shiesty. Is that right? Am I getting that right? I'm almost 35 years old. The shiesty mask, right? Is that right? He's coming in the ring with it. Kelvin Davis against Pistol Pete Dobson, and this is an important fight for Kelvin Davis, man. Last time, man, that place is pretty empty. Virginia did not condone what Keyshawn Davis did last time out. They are punishing him with their pockets. They're saying, we got standards here in Norfolk, Virginia. You can't just go ringside with your eyes low, eating popcorn by the handfuls and blow weight. Probably half of them who showed up, man, that can't be. I was going to say half of them who showed up probably didn't even know the main event was canceled for the De Los Santos event, but they had to know that. But Virginia's saying, nah, bruh, we didn't appreciate that, so we're not going to the next fight. Because when Kelvin Davis fought Nahir Albright, that place was packed and rocking, and it is pretty empty in there by comparison. But big fight for Kelvin Davis because Pete Dobson is a savvy, legit pro. That's why he took Conor Benn the distance in Conor Benn's last welterweight fight to date. And hit Conor Benn with some good right hands in that fight. Survived well. Crafty guy. Kelvin Davis is going to have to show if he's just, if he's just the older brother. He's going to have to show he's really a pro tonight. He's going to have to show if he's really a pro, or if Pete Dobson is going to make him have to find another route in life, okay? Because Kelvin Davis, I like Kelvin. Whenever I deal with the Davis brothers, Kelvin and Keon. Keon, I think, is the better of the brothers between Kelvin and Keon. I definitely think that. But Kelvin is a nice guy. He's a good dude whenever I interact with him. And so I don't love pointing out that I don't know if he's a true pro. I mean, yeah, he's a true pro, 15 wins, 1 loss. But what I mean is, does he really have a future in professional boxing that can be lucrative beyond fighting on Keyshawn Davis's undercards? I don't know about that. He's always looked a little shaky. He got dropped in his professional debut, I believe, in Texas. I was at that fight. That might have been on the Spence Garcia. That might have been on the Canelo Billy Joe Saunders undercard. I was at that fight. Got dropped early in that fight, got up to win, and then obviously Nahir Albright beat him handily, dropped him, hurt him multiple times. So tonight at 29 years old, Kelvin Davis has to show if he's really a pro. What is my email? Here, you can shoot it to my email here. All right. So, oh, Paulie got stopped. Say it ain't so. Paulie shouldn't be fighting anymore. Me and Raheem did a video about that a while ago. But, all right, here we go. Round 1 of Kelvin Davis, Pete Dobson. You guys can shoot other topics my way, but we're going to check this out. Obviously, Kelvin with a big height advantage. Southpaw starts off stepping over to his right, stepping over to his left, keeping his hands high. Pete Dobson is going to try and be the slow and steady pro and starts with the jab to the body. Pete Dobson on the front foot a little bit, but Kelvin staying in the center of the ring, moving over, misses his first 1-2, shuffles over to his left, shuffles over to his left. That is going to the right hand of Pete Dobson early on, and that's going to be the punch Pete eventually looks to find Kelvin Davis, the southpaw, with that right hand. But you can expect him to be methodical in doing so. And now Kelvin back near the ropes for the first time, steps over to the left. Pete shoots a little straight right hand to the body, not with full conviction on it, just trying to get in range and cut a little bit of distance against the tall Davis brother. Minute into the fight, nice feint by Kelvin Davis. Kelvin, already a little nearer the ropes, lands a jab, sticks the jab in a little bit, resets on the outside range. Lands another jab. Good right hand to the body by Pete Dobson. Back comes Kelvin Davis with a straight left hand to his chest, and he gets back to the center of the ring now. Shoots his jab. Dobson parries that. Another jab by Kelvin Davis. Straight left hand by Kelvin Davis misses, but then he takes a step back, sweeps another left hand, keeping Dobson at bay. Davis near the ropes here. Steps over to his left some more. Back touches the ropes. A jab to the body by Pete Dobson. Davis near the ropes again. Jab to the body by Dobson again. Right now, yeah, obviously the length of Kelvin Davis is, and again, 6 years young. Good straight left hand by Kelvin Davis. And he has a nice turn off to his left there as Dobson took that left hand and tried to sweep 2 hard body shots. Now Davis has to tie him up, lean on him with his back to the ropes. But yeah, you expect Davis with that height and reach advantage to get off first, but sometimes when he takes a step back, that chin is a little exposed. And Dobson doing Davis getting off to the better start in the first round because, as expected, he's getting off first. But you can see Dobson just taking little steps towards him, trying to slowly close that distance and set up that right hand. Davis ties him up as Dobson tries to jump in right there. Can't get off. Referee separates him. 10 seconds left in the round. And not a whole lot of accuracy between either fighter. Dobson already going to the shoulder roll look on the front foot, slipping some straight left hands, but Dobson neutralized on the outside by the length of Davis in round 1. So 10-9 Kelvin Davis. Not a exciting round by any start. It's just a feeling out round to start, but the taller, younger man able to get off first and control the round enough to win the first round. So, am I getting a Neo Geo AES Plus? I've been seeing a lot about the Neo Geo lately. So, is the AES Plus, is it like the SNES Mini? Is it like the Super Nintendo Mini? Is that what we're doing? Or is it something else? Let me look it up. Let me see. My fight is a little delayed. They just squared up. Only tri-state OGs understand the beauty of Dobson being from the Bronx and calling himself Pistol Pete. So fill me in on that. It's not a Pistol Pete Maravich reference? Obviously, it's not. Which Pistol Pete is from the Bronx? AES Neo Geo. All right, hold on. Into the second round we go. Okay, I'm gonna have to check that after. But yep, round 2. Here we go. Let's see if Dobson can get a little bit more accurate with his right hand, cut the distance a little bit. Kelvin starting off back near the ropes, right hand to the body by Dobson, but yet to really find his mark. Straight left hand in the center of the ring from Kelvin Davis. And that's where he probably will want to get off more a little bit, is right there in the center of the ring before his back gets closer to the ropes so he doesn't have as many escape routes. Nice stepping over to the left by Kelvin Davis. Pawn with the jab. And Pawn with a straight left hand. Ties Dobson up with his back near the ropes again. Dobson getting physical in the clinch. Trying to put some elbows in there with Davis trying to push him out of the clinch and reset in the center of the ring. Little touch, straight left hand. Nice jab by Kelvin Davis. Straight left hand again by Kelvin Davis. Not putting his leverage and commitment on these shots, but just touching Dobson on the outside. And Davis, almost knowing Davis is in precarious positions sometimes. He backs straight up. Not always straight up, but his chin is exposed in little spots there. And if you could get underneath the shots and find them, the chin is there. But straight left hand by Kelvin Davis in the center of the ring. Nice straight left hand. And you can see him still waiting to trust himself, working off the touches early in round one. Working off the little touch shots, waiting to sit down on something harder, and he's beginning to sit down on some straight left hands as this round keeps going. Dobson not with a lot of head movement. Not with a lot of front foot head movement to cut the distance, just trying to walk him down a little bit patiently, give a shoulder roll look, but not moving his head. Good check left hook by Dobson. Falls short, though. A little too short against Davis, who's keeping his distance right now in the second round. Landing straight left hands. Davis near the corner. And Dobson with a hard right hand there. Sweeps a right hand to the body, sweeps a right hand to the chin, and Davis ties him up. Dobson trying to time Kelvin Davis, too. And Dobson does have good timing. Probably better timing than Davis, although there's been a few exchanges this round where Davis has timed him with a straight left hand on the outside, and Dobson is too short with his own punch trying to time him in the exchange. Lead left hook touches for Dobson. Dobson getting a little closer, coming to life a little bit. Blocks a 1-2 in the center of the ring by Kelvin Davis. Shoots a jab to the body. 1-2 by Kelvin Davis again. Dobson with decent defense in this fight. Not a lot of those are getting through super clean, but I think despite that despite those two right hands near the bell, I think that's a round for Kelvin Davis again. He controlled much of it and landed some good straight left hands in the first 2 minutes, but Dobson did begin with those two right hands to the body and to the head to sweep two hard right hand shots to get himself going too. What's up, Maria C? Sean, what do you think of Lomachenko? It's a 1-of-1 re-release of the Neo Geo system with HDMI output. Ooh, that's kind of tough. That's kind of tough, Defects One. Good to see you, by the way. That's kind of tough. That's kind of cool. My son might like that because all the arcade-style gameplay, Metal Slug, and King of the Monsters, and that's kind of tough, man. I got to see the pricing, but that sounds kind of cool. North Carolina, though. Sean, what do you think of Loma coming out of retirement? I don't know. I moved on. I thought you retired, bro. That's cool. Whatever he wants to do. I already made the whole retirement video with Raheem. I thought he had already done enough to make the Hall of Fame. Great fighter. But I don't know. I wasn't thinking about Lomachenko. Now that he's back, I don't want to see him over Raymond Murataya against Shakur Stevenson, for example. Good right hand lands for Pete Dobson. Pushes Davis to the ropes to start in the first 30 seconds and lands a right hand. I'll touch more on Lomachenko in between rounds. But Dobson finally got in that nice right hand he was looking for. Straight left hand for Davis. Knocks Dobson a little off balance, but it didn't seem to really affect him. And now he's back on the front foot. Eats another straight left hand, but trying to rough Davis up now in the clinch. Davis is tying up whenever his back gets near the ropes, and Dobson cuts the distance. And you got to wonder if that's a sustainable solution against Dobson as he keeps coming forward here. Now he pelts him with a jab, sweeps the left hand. Straight left hand to the body by Davis. Dobson gets inside, works a combination to the body, makes Davis retreat to the ropes. Two body shots by Dobson again. Davis trying to come back with left uppercuts, but Dobson picking him off. Now 1-2 lands for Davis. Hard sweeping right hand to the body by Dobson with Davis against the ropes. Davis beginning to impose himself a little bit. Dobson is. Davis shakes his head no, gets back to the center of the ring. Davis lowers that right hand, keeps it cocked at his waist, is on the ropes again, ties Dobson up again. Dobson roughhousing him in the clinch. Davis leans on him against the ropes. And obviously Dobson doesn't like that. Every time he gets in close, he gets tied up. Davis beginning to lose his distance control in the third round. And that's what it looked like from the outset. You know, Dobson's going to take his time and be patient and slowly look to close that distance and place some shots here. 1-2 by Davis, but it's blocked by Dobson. Davis near the ropes again. Steps over to his left, keeping that right hand low. Sweeps a little left hand to the body on Dobson. Dobson works to Davis's body. Davis flails backwards and ties up again. And Dobson again roughhouses him in the clinch, outworking him in those clinches, being physical, letting his hands go while he's tied up top. 20 seconds left. I think this is a Dobson round. Dobson, jab to the body, 15 seconds left. Davis near the ropes again. Can't keep the fight in the center of the ring this round. Good double jab by Dobson. Gets underneath. A shot. Davis left his chin up there. Right uppercut by Davis. Hard straight left hand by Davis that time. Off the right uppercut. Kind of decoy punch. Close round. Wasn't like Dobson had great success that round, but I felt Davis wasn't able to keep it in the center of the ring as much. Dobson outworked him when he got tied up. Some of those body shots were good earlier in the round. I got a 2-1 for Kelvin Davis, but yeah, North Carolina says Dobson is closing that distance. Indeed he is. Defects 1, yeah, they're going to be releasing a bunch of games on cartridges again. That's crazy. That's crazy. I might have to check that out. But yeah, North Carolina with Lomachenko coming back. I don't know. It's kind of surprising. I guess not surprising, but surprising. I had moved on. I don't know. Maybe him and Gervonta can wind up fighting anyways, since they're both coming off layoffs at this point. But that was a straight left hand by Kelvin on the slow-mo that knocked Dobson's mouthpiece out. So it could be 3-0 Kelvin Davis. I wouldn't be mad at it. But either 2-1 or 3-0 Kelvin Davis. But yeah, I'm not trying to see Shakur and Loma right now. I'd rather see Gervonta and Lomachenko. Shakur has got momentum right now. I'd rather see him fight Raymond Murataya. So that's just me though. But 30 seconds into the fourth, Davis now back in the center of the ring. Nice little straight left hand to the body. Dobson is struggling with the length of Davis still. And he's a little frustrated. Now he works in the clinch, bangs some right hands to the body as soon as Davis ties him up. Straight left hand by Davis, blocked by Dobson. But Dobson got to try to find something at mid-range here. Each time he gets in close, he's getting tied up. And Kelvin Davis just trying to get a win tonight. Hasn't been sitting down on a lot of shots. Just making the most of his length. Using his movement around the ring. Yeah, his back is touching the ropes a lot. But he's not loading up on shots. He's just trying to touch and go right now and do enough to beat a savvy pro in Pete Dobson. So Kelvin stepping over to his left some more. 1-2 by Kelvin Davis. Dobson blocks it, but is pelted and kept on the outside. And this is a frustrating round for Pete Dobson. Hard right hand to the body by Pete Dobson as Kelvin looked to exit out to his right. He followed. Nice double jab by Dobson. Gets in some hard work to the body as Kelvin Davis ties him up. Now Kelvin's back in the center of the ring, bouncing up and down. That lead hand really low. Both hands low for Kelvin Davis. Davis has landed 23 power shots to 21 for Pete Dobson. 12 jabs to 7. So not a big disparity in connects right now. But Kelvin is just keeping it on the outside enough even when those shots are being blocked or rolled by Dobson, to just get off first. And I think frustrate Dobson. Davis stepping over to his left. In the corner right now. 2 body shots by Dobson, but he misses up top. Dobson having a hard time with the timing and going against the length right now. Good body shots, though, by Dobson with Davis along the ropes. Davis along the ropes trying to pot shot a couple of straight left hands, but not with really any snap on them. They're quick, but no, not a lot of power on them. There's a straight left hand from Davis in the center of the ring, but Dobson not taking too many of these shots too clean. A lot of them finding the chest, partially being parried. I gave that round to Davis, though. That was a frustrating round for Dobson. 3 rounds to 1 for Kelvin Davis right now. Not a great fight yet, but what's up, C-Money? What's going on? Mar the Prince said, Sean, do you think Awignonia goes pro before the 28 Olympics? I don't. Actually, it sucks. I had the fight on TNT. Hey, cross your fingers that your boy gets that gig. I know I've had a couple people that are being interviewed for that show put in a good word for me that they'd want me on the panel. It's probably a long shot, but, God willing, who knows? Maybe I could get that gig on what would be like the Inside the NBA version of a boxing show on TNT that they just promoted. I think I'm biased, but I think I'd do a great job, even if I'm a little green right now for broadcasting. But I'd rise to the occasion, damn it. So, anyways, I just talked to Joseph, and then we had some problems with the recording happen on Riverside Studios. But no, he said for sure he is sticking to the Olympic route. He is sticking to the Olympic route for 2028 for sure. And that's with Frank Warren and Zuffa and Top Rank and Oscar. Every promoter has already talked to Joseph Awignonia, but he is keeping his eyes on the Olympics in 2028 in LA. So I think that's the route he's staying on. So, but back to the action. Ooh, double right hook by Kelvin Davis. Finally showing a right hook there. There's a jab for Kelvin Davis. That was a good double hook by Davis there. Finally going to something else besides the 1 and the 2. Hard right hand to the body by Pete Dobson as Davis backs into the ropes there. But Davis isn't staying on the ropes too long. He's either tying up or he's shifting off right away. Mannix has this 4-0 for Kelvin Davis. I think that's a fine and fair scorecard. I might give the 3rd round to Dobson, but I'm not mad at that card either. 1-2 by Davis again. The 2 getting blocked. Right hand to the body by Pete Dobson. He has landed some good body shots in this fight, but almost nothing up top. He gets checked by a little right hook again, trying to reach to the body and close the gap. There's a little short left hook for Dobson. Right hook gets rolled, gets to the body again. Davis tying him up again on the ropes, pushes him off. Big right hand just misses for Dobson, but digs 2 body shots behind that before Davis gets off the ropes. 1-2 by Kelvin Davis, blocked by Dobson. Dobson getting to the body again. Will he get credit for this body work when Davis is along the ropes and isn't really punching off the ropes and Dobson is digging to the body? Will he get credit for that? Minute left in the round. See, because I think it's a close round right now. Or are they just going to give Davis credit for pelting him a little bit on the outside, even if some of it's blocked? I think the better work this round, and arguably in the 3rd round, is actually the body work by Dobson. 40 seconds left in the round. Another right hand to the body by Dobson, and Davis ties him up some more. And at some point, the referee should warn about that. Yeah, clinching is definitely, obviously, a part of boxing, but every single time a fighter so is infighting, and at some point the refs got to ask you to do that as well and not resort to the clinch every single time. And Davis ties him up again, leans on his head. See, I think Dobson got the better work done in the second half of that round to the body. And I don't think Kelvin Davis successfully controlled the middle of the ring. There's a good straight left hand, though, in the last 10 seconds by Kelvin Davis. The 3rd and the 5th rounds to me are close. Now, Dobson is being rendered ineffective for the most part, almost completely up top, but he is hitting that tall abdomen to the body a few times. So I don't know. I think that fifth and third round could arguably go to Dobson. I wonder what Bob Arum's saying ringside. It's kind of sad to see Top Rank on DAZN instead of finding a way to find their own deal. You know, I mean, DAZN is DAZN, but DAZN's a money loser. I feel like their production's not the best. I like that. Yeah, there could be some. I like that there's a big right hand to the body on the slow mo for Dobson, and I thought he won that round. But yeah, let's see. Chikian, thank you, brother. Thank you, JJ. Says, hey, Sean, what's your thoughts on boxing scene letting go of some of their reporters? Also, I hope you get the chance to get on the fight. Pretty sure I made the phrase, Sean Z is the new Max Kellerman. Thank you, my brother. 2023, I made that state. Thank you, bro. Man, God bless you, Chikian. Kid's doing so good. Just an awesome young man, always in the chat. My man that I love seeing at the fights here in Vegas. My thoughts on boxing scene letting go of some of their reporters. A lot of good reporters too. Whether it was Jake Donovan, who left on his own terms weeks ago, got a lot of love for Jake. Tris Dixon, who's a really good guy, yoked up, super buff guy, could kick your ass, and a really good writer, a good guy. A lot of good talent from there, and I love Lance Pugmire. That's my guy. But and he's still there. But I don't know. It's not surprising. They just writing. It's tough if you're a writer, especially in boxing. Everything's gone on YouTube. Everything's gone the digital route. Or not digital, but the spoken word route. A lot of people aren't reading anymore. I just read my first book in a while when I read that three-peat Lakers book, The Three Ring Circus. So it's tough. And then boxing scene, it was, who knows how much of a profit it was ever really turning in the last several years. It was owned by CBS, and so they had a vested interest in having a boxing outlet when they also had Showtime. So, of course, it makes sense that you own a boxing website. As soon as CBS dropped Showtime, they dropped Boxing Scene. And then Boxing Scene got bought by Gary Jonas, who knows if he's really operating in the black with his business instead of the red. So how long, and I like Daniel Rubin. And when I met Gary, he was a gentleman with me. And I like Pro Box. I've liked a lot of their cards. I thought Najee Lopez, up until the Daniel Dubois Fabio Wardley fight, was the fight of the year. Still might be. They were both fight of the year contenders. But fight heating up a little bit in the sixth round. I'll get back to the action. But basically, like my guy Paul Magno said, you got to find a way to do journalism in contemporary ways. And just writing boxing articles on a boxing site, the last time that was really over was like, the Max Boxing Talk days in the 2000s. House of Boxing, Max Boxing, Boxing Talk. Early 2010s Fight Hype with their access to Floyd getting the better information, and they still are, over the mainstream media. So, but yeah, man, this is where it's at. That's why Showbiz has like 500,000 followers. That's why Teddy Atlas has 250,000 followers. This is where it's at now, is YouTube. So if they could find a way to transport the talent they have as journalists to a more contemporary medium, i.e., YouTube, things like that, then they could still be influential and great journalists. But the truth of the matter is just not a lot of people are reading articles as much as they once were. I think, outside of a few websites, even like Bill Simmons, who's a great writer and still super influential in sports media, Grantland didn't last. And Grantland was excellent. I loved reading articles on Grantland, but it's just hard. You got to find a way to adapt to this new stuff. And as I'm getting into my 30s, there's when adaptations come and you see the scene that I may have to do this if I want to keep growing my base and adapt. Sometimes you get older, you don't want to do that shit. You think it's something about the evolving forms of media is stupid or beneath you and you don't feel like doing it, you're like, if that's what I gotta do to keep up in the race, then I don't know if I want to do that. And I think that's something and that's where some journalists who are excellent journalists may recede in popularity and even be okay with it. It's like, I'm just going to keep doing me. Even if what I do isn't the most popular thing anymore, I'm just going to do it anyways because it's true to what I do and it's comfortable with what I do. So, I mean, that happens. Like Peter Vesey is as good an NBA journalist as there's probably ever been. And we haven't heard of Peter Vesey in mainstream media in 15, 20, 10 years. I mean, he's had the appearances on ESPN and Fox Sports and everything. But it's like Peter Vesey is like, I'm not going to start a podcast. I'm too old for that shit. I'm going to just keep writing my columns. And if the number of it goes from, hundreds of thousands of people to just a couple thousand or a couple hundred, so be it. I'm going to do me. And I think, a lot of journalists that age do that. Some of them, like the guy whose book I read, what was his name again? Jeff Pearlman. He has a YouTube channel. Subscribe to it if you want to hear great stories. He's already got like 80,000 subscribers. He only started it about a year ago. And he's transported his storytelling from his long form books into 30, 40-minute YouTube videos. And I think it's excellent. So yeah, that's how it is in this business, man. So, and to Chakian's point, he said, you got a point, Sean. I remember in my free time, I would always be waiting for new boxing articles, but over the years, I see myself reading them less. Sean, who would you take number one in this year's NBA draft? I don't know. Isn't Cameron Boozer supposed to go number one? I haven't watched any college ball, so I'm not sure. I am addicted to NBA My Team again, though. It's bad. It's bad. I got addicted to it again in the last week or two because in the late in the season, they start handing out tons of awards for free. So you could just beef up your team in a short. Oh, good straight left hand by Kelvin Davis. Anyway, back to the action. DAZN has given the last 2 rounds to Pete Dobson. He has closed that gap, and the action has heated up. And now we got more of a fight down the stretch heading into rounds 8 through 10, and we'll get back to the action now. But Dobson has closed that gap and gotten to the body pretty consistently, it seems, the last couple rounds. Davis in retreat, sweeping right hand to the body by Dobson. Combination with him against Rowe. 2 hard body shots again by Dobson. And again, will Dobson get the credit for his body work in the fight? That's a question the HBO Jim Lampley would always ask. Davis is starting to look a little more fatigued in there, taking deeper breaths. Hands are lower. And that'll do it for the 7th round. I was talking with the chat and wasn't scoring that one as closely, but Dobson has had some consistent body work going on. So Freshport, Sean, you my guy, but what's going on? I'm sorry, Freshport. I'm back on it. So what does Shakur have to do to be your pound for pound number 1 fighter? I think, beating Devin Haney at 47 would be good. Raymond Murataya at lightweight, I think, is his best opponent right now, with Gervonta in flux, Lomachenko having been retired. Yeah, I think those are the 2 best fights with substance out there for him right now. And then 140, of course. I mean, whether it's, I think Gary Antoine Russell's probably the most intriguing fight at 140. But I like Devin Haney and I like Raymond Murataya next. Number 1 pound for pound, just show out, look special and fight good competition. Oh, lead left hook for Dobson, and that grazed Davis. He went down, but it was off more of a slip. All right, let's get back to the action here, and we'll continue on everything else. But it looks like fight is tightened up on the scorecards for DAZN. I thought Dobson's body work was being a little bit underrated in the first 5 rounds and rounds 3 and 5. Now a jab lands for Dobson, more of a power jab as Davis landed his own jab, but there was more oomph on that lead hand of Dobson. Dobson catches a straight left hand to the body, comes back with a straight right hand to the body, digs to the body with 2 body shots again. And the body language of Davis isn't as good right now as it was earlier in the fight. He doesn't look like the taller, rangier man controlling the distance now. He looks more in retreat, and the body work of Dobson is consistent right now. Davis goes to the canvas again. His body language is a little bit all over the place right now. Going from imposing early to more gangly. Now he lands a sharp 1-2. And again, he's a little off balance, ties up Dobson around the head, spins him in the center of the ring. Referee warns him. Back comes the action now. Let's see. Davis lands a jab, steps over to his left. Dobson with a 60-54 advantage now in power shots landed, and a lot of those got to be to the body. Davis tying Dobson up. Dobson trying to work in the clinch. Working a little bit. Exits out with a little bit of a left hook on the top of the head. Davis landing with his left hand. Southpaw moving his head side to side. Gets near the ropes again. Body shots by Dobson. Consistent body work. Davis exits with a lead hand jab there. Davis near the ropes. Measuring, steps over to his left. Steps over to his left again. Got some space between him and Dobson. Got to fire the left hand. He does. Dobson tries to step inside of it with a left hook. Neither guy that accurate that time. Davis ties him up again. Gives part of his back to Dobson. Referee breaks him apart. 1-2 by Davis. Dobson parries it. Oh, sweeping right hand of the body by Dobson after Davis tried to throw that 1-2 and then angle out. Ooh, sweeping right hand up top by Dobson. Finds a home a little bit around the glove, and then he digs to the body with 2 more body shots. I just think the last several rounds, the best work has been by Dobson to the body. I think the best work in this fight has been Dobson to the body. There's a right hook on the inside by Davis, though. Got a little leverage on it, too. Back comes Dobson to the body. And that'll do it. I gave that 8th round to Dobson. It's it'll be interesting how this fight gets scored. Because Davis will touch him at long range with a jab here, straight left hand here. But it's Dobson with the professional sit down with leverage punches, but they're to the body. Will that offset the occasional pelting shots up top for Kelvin Davis? It'll be curious how the judges score this. And I think ring generalship-wise, it's been poor in spots by Davis. It's been good enough to deflate the offense up top from Pete Dobson, but it hasn't been good enough to control the center of the ring and impose himself in the center of the ring. And he's got to clinch a lot because he's not controlling the distance, because he's not doing like Shakur did to Teofimo, just a step back, staying in the center of the ring, controlling the real estate, creating that invisible line in the ring of distance that if Dobson passes by, he will have to pay for it. That isn't really there. So I don't know, man. I prefer some of the work from Dobson throughout this fight, but it's very close. It's a very close fight. And some of those left hands have left a little touch of swelling around Dobson's right eye. DAZN has it 5-3 for Davis. I might have it 4 rounds apiece, but there, 1 or 2 of those rounds we were talking about other topics like boxing scene closing. But here we go. In the 9th round, 35 seconds into it, and Dobson continuing to dig in with a left hook to the body here and there, coming forward against Davis. Davis measuring with his jab, shoots the jab out. Nice little check right hook by Davis. Dobson follows him out the door with a couple of body shots and a right hand that falls a little short up top. Davis near the ropes again, but there's more of the invisible line behind the jab. But now he gets in the corner again. Sweeping right hand did land that time for Dobson as he led with a left hook to the body. Davis ties him up, and Dobson clubbing him to the side of to the left side of his head with his right hand in the clinch. Davis still tying up in the center of the ring. Still tying up, and now the referee will finally let them go. 1:40 left in the round. Dobson high guard. Dobson misses that right hand of the body. Davis steps off to the left. Straight left hand by Davis. Hard to see if that landed on the chest or if it touched the chin a little bit. Looks like it might have touched the chest. Back comes Dobson. Rushes him to the ropes. Let's go of a combination. Davis ties him up. One of those left hands did touch Dobson on the way in, but Dobson digs again in the clinch to the body. Minute left in the 9th round. And I feel like these moments, Davis is losing every moment of these clinches just about. And that should count to the judges. There's a check right hook for Davis there. Both fighters trying to land at long range. Both missed, but then Davis punctuated that sequence with a check right hook that landed on Dobson there. 35 seconds left. Close fight in Davis's hometown. Dobson still can't really find him up top right now. And he's eating the occasional shots up top himself. That could very well work against him. Jab for Davis. Bouncing up and down. 18 seconds left. Left hand by his chin. Sweeps the left hand. There's a nice sweeping left hand by Davis. And he ties Dobson up again. Dobson works in the clinch. That's a close round. That's a close round. I don't know. Davis finishes strong. Good finish there by Davis. He sat down and finished with a hard left hand out of the clinch that time. I feel like Davis might have nicked that round. So 1 round left. Silly Gilly around is a little ahead of me here. Let me restart and make sure I'm live on this. Heading into the 10th round. Let me refresh here. Davis should be using his height more. He is what he is, At 29 years old, he is what he is. He's not that level of fighter. He's always struggled to impose his length and look impressive doing it, It's like when he shoots his shots, he's vulnerable. The chin is exposed a little bit, and it's not tightened up super defensively. He lives and dies on his height a little bit, and for as tall as he is, he doesn't have this dominant distance control. So here we are in the first 15 seconds of the round, and let's see what's going on. And yeah, DAZN gave that last round to Dobson. They got it a 1-point fight for Davis. That's about how I see it during the fight. Is maybe Davis a point ahead. But he has frustrated Dobson enough. It hasn't been pretty. It hasn't been an eventful fight. But Davis might do just enough to win the fight. But I don't think... I don't think he's, heading to any championship fights in his career. So, Davis on the ropes. Little sweeping right hand up top for Dobson off a little combination to the body. Cleans up with a little sweeping short right hand on the inside. Not a lot of power on that shot, though. Not enough distance to generate the leverage. Oh, hard left hand by Davis. That's as good a left hand as he landed, and he nods after that. That was a nice, sharp left hand down the pipe with good speed on it and snap by Davis. I think that's the best left hand he's landed, and that could be a clinching in a fight where there's just not a lot of clean shots being landed. That could clinch the fight for Kelvin Davis. That straight left hand about 15, 20 seconds ago. So, minute 12 left in the fight. Kelvin, again, 1-2 at long range. Ties Dobson up. Dobson was able to get some good body work, but could never find a way to consistently bring it up top and land that one shot that knocks Davis off balance, who, if you catch him, he's very gangly, and you can knock him around and make it look real good to the judges if you catch him with a clean shot up top, but he hasn't been able to. Davis is just being resourceful enough, tall enough, lanky enough, tying up as often as he feels he needs to just get by with three yards and a cloud of dust. Referee breaks him apart with 30 seconds left. This ref, I think at some point should have gave a warning for clinching, but never did. 28 seconds left in this fight. Davis feels like he's won this fight. Oh, sharp left uppercut by Davis with Dobson trying to cut the distance. Yeah, ugly fight. A lot of clinching by Davis. A lot of his punches without conviction, but he snapped a good left uppercut there, snapped a good left hand there. And this round might have clinched it for Davis. And it wasn't pretty. Punch to the back of the head by Dobson in the clinch. Davis bit down enough in this 10th round to make his point that I nicked this fight. So I think Kelvin with that round wins the fight. North Carolina said, yeah, this ref was hot ass, bro. Silly Gilly says, very ugly fight. Trich said Dobson won 10. I don't think so. I think Davis won that round. Bro, do Dobson won. Stop deriding Davis, man. I'm not. Shit, if anything, I would have been fine with Dobson winning. He's from New York. I don't really think Kelvin Davis is a contender. I like a nice guy, but so is Pete Dobson. And I would have been fine with that, saving us from more primetime slots for Kelvin Davis. Again, no offense to him. It's just I don't think he's really got a bright. God, I feel like it's tough. It's tough sometimes saying this shit about guys, man, but it is what it is. I don't think he's got a bright future. So I would have been fine with Pete Dobson eliminating a pretender. All right. We're speaking in relative terms in the hunt for championship level boxing, okay? Kelvin is not a contender. But he didn't. But then again, I mean, to beat a resourceful, savvy veteran like Pete Dobson means you know what you're doing in there somewhat, man. Obviously, and Kelvin Davis to me did win this fight. I think Keon Davis is better though. Thank you, Chikian. Said gotta miss that old Top Rank on ESPN field. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the super chat, brother. But you do. It's just, DAZN has underwhelming production. I think Mannix and Mora have gotten better. They've developed some chemistry. I think Sergio's really good. I think Chris has grown a lot. But just the colors, the chyrons, the graphics they use, just the presentation they use, it's just not as good. I think even PBC Prime has better production value in terms of camera quality and just big fight feel. But DAZN has much more depth to their infinitely more depth to their roster of talent with all the promoters. And I think PBC's headed to DAZN too. So curious to see how that works out. But they should have kept Tim Bradley, man. They should have kept Tim Bradley. Tim Bradley has been the best broadcaster in boxing the last 5 or so years. And for DAZN, again, like I said, Sergio and Chris have grown with a good chemistry and everything. But for them to not find a spot for Tim, but I got a feeling Tim is going to be on the TNT show. If TNT knows what's good for them, they'll have Tim on there. I've heard some things in the business that, maybe Sean Porter will be on there too. I think that'd be a great duo. I actually have I think that'd be a great move. Look, Tim was being called the Charles Barkley of boxing. Charles Barkley made his name as a commentator, as a broadcaster on TNT. And can you imagine if you thought Tim was raw before, and he's raw on his YouTube channel, obviously, imagine him when it's the network that's doing the gig and not Top Rank in association with, I get it. Top Rank and Matchroom and all these promoters will be a broadcast partner of TNT, but TNT already has a precedent set for having coverage that can be so critical of the product that the NBA and the players eventually wanted that show off the air because they felt that it was so negative, even though America loved Inside the NBA on TNT. And I know it's still on ESPN, but I think Tim on a network that already has a precedent for wanting you to be critical and sometimes even demean the product if they feel it deserves to be demeaned in America and the viewing public feel it should be demeaned, I think Tim would be a perfect fit on the Inside the NBA of boxing, the fight on TNT. And again, I hope I get that gig too, man. I'd love to cut loose and be on that panel with a Tim Bradley, with a Sean Porter. So Silly Gilly said you have to have a video on how you got into the sport. I guess so, right? Do people care enough to hear that yet? I guess I should. The short story is, I had a couple of Mexican friends, and they would always watch Fernando Vargas and Oscar De La Hoya in the early 2000s. And I grew up liking Rocky, growing up on the East Coast, being Italian, and being from Bensonhurst. But my dad was Irish and German. It was my mom whose family comes from Sicily and northern Italy. A weird rare mix where she's from both sides. Her background was from both sides of Italy, down south and up north. But my dad was from the Bronx and then Brooklyn. And growing up in Bensonhurst, everybody loved Rocky because he's the Italian stallion. So I grew up loving the Rocky movies, but never really watched boxing. Had little memories of being in the bank in Brooklyn and Holyfield getting his ear bitten by Tyson, and the next morning in the bank in Brooklyn, everybody in line talking about it. Older black dude reading his newspaper, and he goes, "Man, I wish I was Evander Holyfield." And I said, "Why? So you wish you could fight that good?" And like it's a superpower or something to be a heavyweight champion. He goes, "No, for his money. I wish I got the money he made last night." And remembering my dad and my uncles, my dad was one of 10 brothers and one of 14 brothers and sisters. And all him and all his brothers and his friend John Foy watching the fights, and me going, "Is it like Rocky? Is it like Rocky?" And they'd laugh and like, "No, these are the real fights." But it wasn't until the early 2000s, 2000, 2001, 2002, and really 2002 is where it really hit off for me, going to my friend Alex, his house, and him watching the fight. My friend Anthony, he had his mom worked at the casinos, and they would have these potlucks to show appreciation to the casino workers. And they had a fight. They brought a TV, a big CRT TV, out to the picnic to watch De La Hoya Vargas. And watching that fight, watching Vargas a couple months later against Fitz Vanderpool, and just being like, wow, just falling in love with boxing. And then after that, after like 2002, 2003, I just got the bug, started buying the Ring magazine all the time, watching every fight on HBO. My friend was smart. He was like, "Yeah, bro, you got to watch Arturo Gatti." He would, say it like that. He would, "You got to watch Arturo Gatti, bro. It's like the real Rocky." And we would watch some of Gotti's fights. But I really fell in love with De La Hoya, and I'll never forget the fight parties for the De La Hoya Hopkins doubleheader, and then De La Hoya Hopkins itself, all the De La Hoya fights, and then eventually Barrera and Morales and Floyd Mayweather. And Bernard actually became my favorite fighter. So, and then eventually in 2005, my friend Edgar was already boxing and said, "You need to come to the boxing gym. Barry's boxing out here." Went to the gym, trained, had a couple of fights, sparring all the time, and then, stopped boxing because just it's a tough sport. It's hard to stay dedicated to it. I think a lot of time you need like a parent that's involved with it. That's usually it, or someone who has a vested interest in you continuing to go to that gym and making you go to the gym when you don't want to. So then eventually in high school, I start running and doing track and cross country because it was kind of an easy transition from how well in shape you have to be to box to just do track. And that felt easy after boxing, even though it was actually pretty fucking hard to do it at a good level. But I still just love the fights. All my friends would come over for the fights. I started ordering the fights, and I started having the fight parties instead of going to them. We watched Trinidad versus Winky at my house, Mayweather and Gotti at my house, the Pacquiao-Marquez fights. My mom would let me order the pay-per-view, have everybody over, and just fell in love with boxing, man. Knew everybody from 1 to 10, bought the ring every month. Like I said, trained a little bit, got to train in the gym with guys that went on to be pros, like the Magdaleno brothers. Jesse became a world champion. Michael Hunter, the heavyweight, the Olympian. Mike is my guy to this day. So just fell in love, and I actually grew up wanting to be like Chris Berman. Like football was the first sport I fell in love with because my grandfather in San Francisco, old Italian guy, he would always make me watch the 49ers, and I watched my first Super Bowl with him, Elway versus Favre, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be a commentator. I want to be what at the time I didn't know was an on-air talent. And I played football too, and I was a pretty good football player, believe it or not. I was a really good right tackle and defensive end this is youth football, before you had to have meat on your bones to play those positions. Um, and then one of my football coaches was Coach Avalar, Saul Avalar, who actually wound up doing all those ESPN broadcasts with Teddy Atlas. He was Teddy Atlas's assistant. And Coach Avalar, I thought he was Russian and he was Mexican. And one day I'm struggling with my high knees when we're getting ready in camp to play for the Cowboys out here. And he's like, "What's wrong with you, man? What, white boys got no rhythm? Come on, man, get your knees right, get on rhythm." And I got mad, like visibly angry with him at that. And my dad was getting a kick out of it. And then I started doing them hard and being like that to him after I do it. And he goes, "Hey, man, you're a boxer. You're not a football player. You need to box." And I didn't know until I went to Barry's a couple years later. I was like, "Oh, Coach Avalar?" And he was a boxing coach too, and he was a pro. He was like 0-1 as a pro. He had his one fight here in Vegas. His sons boxed. They were good in the amateurs. They were better than me, it turned out, in terms of length of fights and everything. But so instead of being a football like Chris Berman guy, because falling in love with NFL primetime and Chris Berman, eventually I was like, once I saw boxing, I was like, no, I want to do what Jim Lampley does. I want to do what Max Kellerman does. And it never happened. But that is the story of how I got into boxing. So was like falling in love with it in the early and then after that, I didn't give a shit about football like that anymore. And then all these years later, now I do cover the Raiders because when that opportunity presented itself, I was like, well, that was an original dream of mine too, to cover the NFL. So I didn't pass on that opportunity to get into an NFL media room too. So I do enjoy the NFL. I enjoy the NBA. It was actually Vince Carter that made me like. It was Kobe and Shaq because, quick. We're killing time until we get to the Brian Norman fight. But I didn't get my mom was married to my stepfather, and they would party really late, and I would be like 8 years old, 9 years old, and they would party really late until 1, 2, 3 in the morning on school nights. And you're afraid as a kid being home alone like that, so you look for programming to comfort you on TV late at night. So the Lakers would come on all the time at 7:30 with that beautiful voice of Chick Hearn, the Lakers, Kobe Bryant, and all that. And I watched this kid called Kobe Bryant in the 1999 season before the three-peat in 2000 to 2002. Watched Rick Fox and Shaq, and it was crazy. I'll never forget the first Lakers game I watched was, and I'm a Knicks fan, but I love the Lakers too because growing up in Vegas, leaving New York, watching them on FS West all the time, and saw their final year at the Forum. And the first game I watched of the Lakers was Dennis Rodman's debut, and they played the Clippers. And Rodman had like 1 point and like 20 rebounds or something. And just being like, well, he wore number 73. And just seeing, that was my first time watching basketball steady, was like the 20 games before Dennis Rodman, fell out in LA in 99. He didn't even make it to the end of the year. And I was like falling in love with watching this young guy called Kobe Bryant. And I had to get a little bit older and mature to love Shaq in the back to the basket game. But early on, the afro and flying through the air, like Kobe is what you as a kid gravitated to. And then, but I was a Knicks fan. And so then the Knicks played in the 2000 and 2001 playoffs against the Raptors, and they beat them in 2000 and lost them in 2001. And NBC was hyping up this Vince Carter guy, and he wound up becoming my favorite player in those series. Just watching him, like, oh, that's my favorite player. I wish he played for the Knicks. So anyways, I always had a great acumen for this is before you could just look it up on the internet like that. My friends at the bus stop would be like, who's the top 5 in the league in rushing yards? And I'd be like, number 1 is Ricky Williams, 1,853 yards. Number 2 is LaDainian Tomlinson. He had 1,600 whatever yard. And I knew all those stats because I'd read the bottom ticker of Sports Center nonstop. So I always wanted to be in sports media, and that's that. But eventually when I found boxing, it was like, that's what I want to do for real. But Chikian, thank you again for the super chat. Says, what made you like B-Hop so much? So First of I liked my father respected him. My father came to visit us, and my dad's this East Coast, old school New York guy, and I got to see my pops for the first time since the '90s, and he visits us, and me and Alex start talking about boxing. We go, "You excited for De La Hoya Hopkins?" And my dad goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." And we go, "Who do you think's gonna win?" He goes, "Hopkins. Hopkins is gonna win. He's bigger. He's bigger and he's tougher than De La Hoya." Like my dad with his thick accent and that bummed out Alex because Alex was so upset when Oscar got knocked out by the body shot. He cried and then he did the bench press in his backyard in the hood right after that. And my dad really knew boxing and loved boxing too, and he picked Hopkins. And so when Hopkins won the fight, instead of being upset that he knocked out Oscar, who we all loved, I kind of got into him more. And then he fought Howard Eastman, and HBO made it this big production about his 20th title defense. And I thought the history of that was cool. And then when cemented it is when I heard his story about going to prison and how he turned his life around. And then as I fell in love with the art and the science of boxing, how crafty he was, and then buying DVDs and downloading old fights on LimeWire and seeing how amazing he was in his prime and realizing I'm not even watching this dude who's number one pound for pound with all these middleweight title defenses in his prime. When I saw the Trinidad fight, it was like a revelation. Like, wow, this guy's amazing. And and then the countdown to Jermaine Taylor, him talking about how he got stabbed and how the prison warden said, "I'll see you again," and "I'll see you again." He goes, "No, you won't." And he never went back to it. And he lost his pro debut. And then he lost his first title fight to Roy Jones. And then still went on to become the greatest middleweight of my lifetime. And then just the way fighters now market themselves off of a lot of things. He literally marketed himself like, "I'm the undisputed middleweight champion." It was everything about him was about boxing. It was about being the best fighter in the world and being the world's best middleweight. And, something about holding that title was so prestige. The way Sugar Ray Robinson did, the way Marvin Hagler did, the way Raging Bull, one of the greatest movies of all time, only exists because Jake LaMotta was great enough to become the middleweight champion. And the way the middleweight champion used to be second to only the heavyweight championship, and the kind of honor and glory and prestige that Bernard was proud to uphold as the world's middleweight champ. I'm not necessarily the biggest draw. I'm not necessarily, the heartthrob like De La Hoya. I'm not this and that, but I'll tell you one thing: no man on this earth 160 pounds or below can kick my ass. And the story of redeeming himself from prison and then the amazing skill set that taught me boxing. If I could appreciate Bernard Hopkins' skill set and subtlety, I could appreciate, and if not appreciate, I can understand and grasp anybody's subtlety in the ring. Not everybody's going to be a 10-punch combination artist like De La Hoya or Leonard. And Hopkins made me appreciate nuance and subtlety. And all those other things I mentioned just made him my favorite fighter. And he was on the cover of Fight Night Round 2, my favorite boxing game. So anyways, here comes now to the ring Brian Norman Jr., as we've self-indulged enough and killed enough time. Coming off the loss to Devin Haney. Josh Wagner was talking spicy heading into this fight. He moves around the ring a lot. He's the taller fighter. I did notice against Harlem Eubank, he dropped his right hand a few times, and I wonder if Norman could get in with a left hook. But you got to see where Norman's confidence is at. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually looks really good, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he detonates on Josh Wagner. But what's interesting is it wouldn't be surprising either if he looks a little shaky. First time without his dad. New trainer in Ronnie Shields. Trying to work some wrinkles out with him. But Ronnie did say heading into this fight, he's just focused on the basics. And I think that's smart by Ronnie. He knows he can't teach him a bunch of new tricks in one camp. So just keep him sharp. Ronnie loves his left hook. And I think that might be the punch that knocks Josh Wagner out. I don't want to pretend to know a lot about Josh Wagner, but watching him on tape for a few rounds against Harlem Eubank, he can move. He's tall. Doesn't seem to have a lot of power. And I did see him drop his right hand in a few spots. And Norman has good timing. And I wonder if Norman can catch him with a left hook. Now, on the other, and I really like Brian Norman. Exciting fighter. really great personality. And I'm kind of hoping he looks good in this. Like, may the best man win. But I think Brian Norman's good for boxing. So I hope he looks um, exciting and confident and shows why he had a lot of hype going into him as the slightest of favorites over Devin Haney. Remember, just a couple, like 6 months ago, he was a slight favorite, if not even money with Devin Haney, who's one of the best fighters in the world. So that shows you how much momentum Brian Norman had. And I think he needs a big highlight reel knockout to get people right back on the hype train. And I think that's very possible in this fight. But you never know how a fighter deals with his first loss. First fight with a new trainer where there could be growing pains. We'll see. And Josh Wagner thinks he can implement with his height, with his range, some of the things that Devin Haney used and Quentin Randall used to make Brian Norman not look that good in spots. So we'll see what happens. I happen to think Norman, two things Ronnie Shields could give Brian Norman to make him better, and that's change his head slots. His head is usually on the line. And if he can get him to change his head slots in little, like I was talking about Bernard, little nuanced, subtle ways, that could help him and develop his right hand, specifically the straight right hand. Norman has a chopping right hand if he gets close to you. On the outside, he tends to only have a jab. He's got an electric left hand, but he's a little bit of a one-handed fighter a little bit. If he gets close, he has a right uppercut. He has a chopping right hand, but he doesn't have a consistent straight right hand at long range. And he's a mid-distance fighter who has a good jab on the outside. I actually think he got away from his jab a little too soon in that fight, looking from the advice from his dad. But those are the things I'd like to see Ronnie Shields work on with him. Can he find a way to change the head slots, and can he find a way to develop a consistent straight right hand? And that can make Brian Norman a lot better. Round one, here we go. And I like the way Norman looks physically. Double jab by Norman right away and a left hook. And right away, Wagner has to tie him up. But Norman looks sharp in that opening sequence there. Norman hands up, working his jab. And he has a very good jab, I think, that may have gone unnoticed in Haney's decisive win over him last November. Nice left hook to the body by Norman after missing a left hook up top. Norman starting off. Looking sharp. Left hand cocked at his waist. Right hand by his chin. Wagner, I think, has already felt some of that power. Wagner goes down. Norman drags his head down to the canvas. But I think Wagner's already felt the power a little bit here. And this could be an early night for Brian Norman. If he can maybe set up the left hook with a right hand, or just find the lead left hook. But I think a left hook could be coming for Brian Norman. A lead left hook lands for Norman off the jab. Norman looking very comfortable and confident and strong. Wagner not with the gusto early in round one that he showed at the weigh-in. Triple jab by Brian Norman. Norman's got a hell of a left hand, chat. Norman nice jab to the body. Really working his jab really well and doubling and tripling it up in round one and working it to the head and the body. Norman, little Jersey Joe Walcott shuffle, steps over to his right, resets, lead left hook to the body, nice jab to the body. Norman looking sharp. I like it. I like Brian Norman, chat. You guys know that. Lead left hook misses for Norman. Norman looking sharp, man. Wagner comes back with a double jab, but it looks like he's going to be a little outclassed in talent tonight. Good double jab again by Norman. Jab to the body. Wagner tries to snipe a right hand over the top of that jab to the body. But Norman with a little bit different hand positioning tonight. We were talking about Bernard. He's doing a little Bernard in him. I love the up jab by Brian Norman. Maybe he learned something from Devin Haney. Up jab lands again for Brian Norman. Norman with a little bit more sauce to his stance tonight. Lead hand is lower than I'm used to seeing from him. A little bit of Roy Jones. A little bit of Bernard Hopkins. With the right hand by the chin and the left hand a little bit low, but I like it's a tight lead hand low stance. Norman looking very confident, like this boy ain't got nothing for me. Double left hook to the body by Norman, making Wagner have to keep his hands at home up top, wary of that jab, that sharp jab in round one, and I like what I'm seeing from Brian Norman. Doubles the jab again, turns Josh Wagner. Wagner in the clinch, looking outgunned in round one. Norman very comfortable, relaxed, and confident Good. I like that opening round from Brian Norman Jr. Looking sharp. And again, Norman, it's not like Kelvin Davis last fight when he had the lead hand low and even the left hand by his chest. It looked loosey-goose. Norman looks tight. He's got it tight. He looks tight right there with the left hand cocked down, but I like it. That's a little bit of a different look from Norman. Norman's usually a little bit more here. And early in round one, it's like he learned from Devin Haney. Hey, that up jab is a nice weapon. Hey, that keeping that lead hand a little bit low, opening up that vision, keeping the right hand by your chin, and having that kind of look. I like that. I gotta work that too. And Norman, again, like I said before the fight, has an excellent jab. Has a really good jab. Just a really good left hand in general. So Panama, what's up, Panama? Silly Gilly said that lead hand is very low on Norman. Yeah, but it looks, the chin is kind of protected by the right hand, and there's just to his stance, there's something that looks tight about it. And I like that. He's going to have to change his looks a little bit at this higher level. Double, tripling up the jab to the body and the head is Norman. And he could eat off that jab all night. Just keep it in Wagner's face. Keep it in the punching lane, like his dad used to say. Put it in the lane. Lead left hook lands for Norman. That shakes Wagner up. Norman looking sharp and explosive. Good hand speed from Brian Norman right now. Wagner near the ropes. Norman throwing a beautiful combination. Sweeping with right hands and left hooks. Down goes Wagner. Sweeping right hands and left hooks. This is exactly the kind of performance Brian Norman Jr. needed to have tonight. Wagner looks like he's already had enough. Wagner is not going to get up in time. He is, but he doesn't really want to fight. He's out. He doesn't really want to fight. He's trying to show the ref, please. 8. He's up at 9, and the ref will let this continue. Highlight reel. Get your popcorn ready. Lead hook. Give him that Roy Jones lead hook. Following behind the jab. Gets him in the corner. Sweeps the right hand. Down goes Wagner again. Sweeping right hand, and Wagner is already exhausted, and he's saying his shoulder hurts. He's done. He's going to take a seat in the corner. Referee's counting him, and referee calls for time. And Wagner complaining about his left shoulder. He's exhausted already. Guy doesn't even really look in good shape. Top Rank did find, and I say this respectfully, a can. They did find a can. None of us ever heard of Josh Wagner. Brian Norman gives a funny look to the camera. But this was the right kind of opponent. You need a confidence builder. And Brian Norman looks pretty damn confident. This is a really good confidence builder for him. He looks good, man. This fight is over, whether Wagner continues or not with his shoulder. The doctor's looking at Wagner's shoulder like, ain't nothing wrong with your shoulder, bro. He's saying, what? What? What's up with your shoulder? And he's like, well, it hurts and I can't, Come on, Josh Wagner. He doesn't want to get highlight reeled. And that's it. It's a stoppage in 2 rounds for Brian Norman Jr. Wagner complains about his shoulder, but it wasn't his shoulder. He was just completely outclassed and shown up. Look, it's Josh Wagner. It's a guy we had never heard of. It was only 4.5 minutes of work, but Brian Norman looked sharp, powerful, dangerous, and that electric lead hand showed hand speed looked good. The results in fight 1 with Ronnie Shields, I think, are very good. I like the lead hand low. I like the up jab. I liked what I saw from Brian Norman Jr., man. The hype is back on. Be Norm the Storm. Fuck it. You know what? We got to do it. We got to do it. There we go. Hold on, chat. It's only right. Brian Norman was hilarious. Relax, it's only money. He's a charismatic dude, Brian Norman. Got a great personality. Okay. It's back, baby. It's back. Yeah! What? Okay! What? Being on the storm. Okay. Norm the Storm. Beat Norm Storm. Let's go, Brian Norman Jr. The Las Vegas chapter of the fan club is in the building. We back. We back. We back, Storm. We back, Stormtroopers. I know that's Tim Bradley's. That's Tim's, but we back. We back to be Norm. What do we get? What else comes to mind? Damn, I can't think of another one that goes as hard as the Youngbloods. Can't think of another one. Any other hot Atlanta instrumentals? I mean, Mystical is from Missouri, so we can't do it. We can't do Here I Go. Yeah. Can't do it. Let's go. Let's go be Norm the Storm. I like it. Again, it was Josh Wagner, but he looked sharp, chat. He really did. Look, that's a hell of a win for Devin Haney. Brian Norman's resume still isn't, anywhere near elite, but he had a lot of momentum, man. He was knocking motherfuckers out heading into the Devin Haney fight. I still think he's an electric talent. Look, all right, I was skeptical a little. All right, I'm like, the one that we still got to see more. All right, he still didn't really move his head, but he gave a different look, a different stance, and looked good doing it. We still don't see, a lot of shifting of the head movement or changing head slots just yet. But even just dropping that lead hand a little bit, it gave him a little, incorporating an up jab, gave him a little bit more sauce tonight. Didn't it, chat? For those of you watching at home, B Norm, instead of that country strong, textbook, hands up, more right here kind of stance. I like the lead hand low look tonight. I think it added a little bit more flavor to what he's doing, and the actual substance of it was an up jab, which is a different look. It's a different kind of jab. Devin gave him a lot of problems with the up jab. I think it's Ronnie Shields, and I think it's learning from Devin Haney in that fight and how effective Devin Haney's up jab was like a power punch in that fight. I still got questions about Norman's defense. I still got questions about Norman's chin. I think he is a little chinny, but I don't have questions about. I think he has underrated hand speed. I think his hand speed looked really good tonight. I think he's got real fucking power. I don't have questions about his punching power, and he got a great personality. I still got my Brian Norman Jr. stock. I think he's just an exciting fighter. 25 years old. The future is still bright for Brian Norman in the welterweight division, man. He is. I mean, I wish I could listen to the interview right now with Chris Mannix. His brother just did the go to sleep face behind him, but great personality, great charisma, electric punching power, one of the underrated jabs in the sport right now. If Ronnie Shields can develop a straight... Again, you saw that the last punch he landed is that chopping right hand, that sweeping right hand. He still hasn't shown us head movement. He still hasn't shown us a straight right hand. If Brian Norman ever gets a straight right hand and some head movement, some different head slots, he will be a problem. He could be like the guy at welterweight one day if he adds that. And that's not out of the question he adds that. He's incredible shape. Guy keeps himself in incredible shape. He's a hard worker. So if Ronnie Shields could teach him some of that, I actually, even as long tenured as Ronnie Shields was, I was a little skeptical of the pairing because Ronnie has mixed results. Look what happened with David Morrell a couple weeks ago or last week in Britain. What happened to him in England. And I actually wanted Brian to take a look at John David Jackson, who, ever since the Kovalev fallout, nobody besides Clarissa Shields has really worked with John David Jackson. John David Jackson teaches head movement on the mitts and everything. I would like to see Brian Norman Jr. with John David, but, Ronnie Shields is a savvy, experienced trainer too. So if Ronnie, again, head slots and a straight right hand, B Norm the Storm could be a problem. But, Keyshawn, Star Madotwav says, Key for sure is going to 147. Hey, Keyshawn and Brian Norman's a good fight. And that's the kind of fight, if Keyshawn is who he says he is and he could whoop Devin Haney's ass and all that, you might have to see the guy who's on the co-main tonight and Brian Norman, and that could be the fight. If you could stop Brian Norman, which Devin Haney didn't do. Devin Haney, I think, could have stopped him, but didn't. But respected Norman's power enough and went to his temperament of just making sure to win first and foremost, secure the win. Knockout comes, cool, and he won that fight decisively, really dominantly. But Norman is still a dangerous fight for anybody. And I don't think he got good corner advice that fight by his dad. His dad didn't perform well in the bright lights. He was still doing interviews the morning of the fight. I mean, at some point the talk is done. At some point I even stopped asking for interviews. Like after you make weight, that's kind of like a gosh, what's the word? I'm getting stupider, chat. Maybe I'm just a little tired. That's a time you have to honor and respect, is the time between a fighter making weight and fight night. Now, to be fair, my guy Sean Porter used to invite me on his own accord. Hey, come up to the hotel. We're going to have some pizza and we could do a little final night interview and everything. And I get it. And that's what Brian Norman Sr. was doing. But the morning of the fight, I've never interviewed a fighter, the morning of the fight. And there needs to be that time where it's sacred, is the word I was looking for. It's sacred. It's time to lock down. There's no more talking. It's time to get ready. And Brian won the first round against Devin, and I felt was working good behind his jab in round one. And his dad was like, take it to him. He can't counterpunch. And what happens? He walks into a counterpunch and gets knocked down. Terrible corner advice by Brian Norman Sr. So, I think that didn't help either, but Devin just had him outgunned in skill. But if Norman can continue to get better at 25, yeah, the division could be his at some point, especially if Devin moves up. He wants the Devin Haney rematch at some point. So, we'll see. Teofimo versus Brian Norman. Who do you got, Sean? I think Brian Norman. Tio is small. Tio is kind of small, man. He doesn't have that lengthy frame that Devin had. I think, he's big in terms of his mass, but I don't know. That'd be a good fight. I favor Norman. Norman has a reach on him. Norman's a bigger guy. Norman's a little younger. And I think Norman psychologically, in some ways, has more hope and less wear and tear on him than Teofimo. I think Teofimo's been through a lot psychologically in his career. The Kambosos fight, now the Shakur fight, the stuff with his dad. And he's a little bit older, and old habits die hard. It's harder to teach an older dog new tricks. He's not old yet. He's not even 30 yet. But he's had more bad habits that he's gotten away with because of his tremendous talent, more ingrained into his style and into his system. Brian Norman already against Josh Wagner is trying to show signs already of growth, of adding new things to his repertoire instead of just going out there in the first 2 rounds against Wagner and doing the same kind of looks he's always done. So I think you got a fighter in Norman who still has some space to grow and get better. And I think you have a fighter in Tio who psychologically has already been through a lot, And I think that may have taken a toll on him. And moving up to a weight class now where he really will be the smaller guy. Now, that being said, I still have questions about Norman's chin and his head movement. And Tio could find him with some shots. But I think if Norman fights discipline behind his jab, I think that's a really exciting fight. I would favor Brian Norman. I'd favor Brian Norman to win that fight. Brewski said Zuffa will be keeping Ben far away from B-Norm the Storm. I mean, Conor Ben, Joey Zaza, who cares about Conor Ben? I mean, he's explosive. He's all right. Don't get me wrong. He can fight, but Conor Ben, we're talking about world champions here. right? Brian Norman was a world champion. Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. Not Ryan's finally a champion, but he was a decorated amateur. The speed jumped off the screen. You know, we're talking about Teofimo Lopez here. We're talking about real championship level fighters here. Something Conor Benn hasn't proven to be just yet. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the truth. He's got talent. He's explosive, but he ain't. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So the Tio disrespect has to stop. Look, Tio might be a Hall of Famer already. 2-time lineal champion. Probably is a Hall of Famer. But I'm just keeping it real, man. You know, Tio has gotten some close calls already against Sandor Martin and Jermaine Ortiz and a few others. And, you know, I think Norman would win the fight. You know, he's a natural welterweight. Tio started at 35. Tio has more head movement than him. He has more creativity than him. But I don't know. I don't know. I think Norman would beat him. I think Tio's been through a lot psychologically. I think more so than a physical. He needs a reset. He needs a Josh Wagner and a hard reset and a new trainer. He needs what Brian Norman just had tonight. He needs a trainer to teach him new things. He needs an opponent tailor-made for him to build his confidence back up. And I think he needs a road to recovery. I think, you know, he needs to go up to welterweight and, you know, maybe fight the winner of Rayo and De Los Santos is his next big fight, his next significant fight. But he needs a Josh Wagner first and a new trainer. He needs the Brian Norman treatment that Norman got tonight. They need to serve him up a soft touch, tailor-made for him to make him feel like he's the fucking shit again, that he's the takeover. And he needs a new trainer to show him some new things and to shore up some technical aspects of his game, because his body is still young and everything, but I think psychologically he's been through a lot and he needs a fresh reset. He needs a fresh start. Zuffa might be good for him. You know, get away from Top Rank. That became a toxic relationship. They never liked him after it was funny. Top Rank, they wanted Lomachenko to beat him, even though that didn't make sense. They like Lomachenko so much. And what happens? What happens? Lomachenko winds up coming out of retirement the day his Top Rank deal is over. So Top Rank thinks the Ukrainian is their guy. He takes his $4 million paydays and shuts up. Tio, he wants like a brash young American star. He thinks he's headed to 8-figure paydays. He thinks he's like De La Hoya and Mayweather, and one day, you know, I'm going to leave this fucking company and make the big money that they don't want to pay me. Top Rank saying, you're not that. You're not worth that yet. They got their point. He's not after the Lomachenko fight. But despite Tio being so much younger than Lomachenko, like you would think you want the American, brash, talkative, Latin guy from the United States to beat the Ukrainian who speaks English roughly as a second language. And, you know, but no, they wanted Lomachenko in his 30s to beat their 23-year-old upstart, their polarizing 23-year-old upstart. And what happens? Tio beats him. And Top Rank is like, all right, I guess you're our guy now. And Tio goes, all right, pay me a shit ton of money for Kambosos. They go, no, it's not worth it. So then, all right, purse bid. Triller wins it. That falls. Anyway, you know the story. So now Tio, he shows him his ass. He goes, you know, fuck you. I'm not. Top Rank is like, all right, we're cool now because you beat Lomachenko and we have to hitch our wagon to you. Come, let's build you up on ESPN. And he goes, no, not for $1.5 million, not for $2 million. I'll go fight on Triller, even though it's a stupid platform. Oh, never mind. Now I'll take half that money and fight on DAZN, which is like being traitorous in the eyes of a promoter like Top Rank. So from that point on, it was like an ugly marriage with kids. It's like, you're too good, too young. We got to work with you on Top Rank's end. And then on Tio, it's like, I signed a piece of paper. I got to work with you. So they give him Josh Taylor. He wins. But it became a toxic relationship. The Saudis wind up breaking off Tio a couple of paydays against Barboza and Shakur Stevenson. And now it's time for a fresh reset. So go to Zuffa, have a gimme, look good, knock someone the fuck out, look confident and popular, and then fight the winner of Rayo and De Los Santos, especially if it's Rayo. That's a really good fight. They have history. Rayo says he knocked them out in sparring with a body shot. They're going to talk mad shit. Rayo's a good-looking Mexican kid. Tio's Tio. That's a good Latin fight, both from the United States. Actually, I think Rayo might actually be from Mexico. He's from Washington or Mexico. I can't remember. He might have been born in Mexico, grew up in Washington. Anyways, they'll talk mad shit. It's an interesting style matchup. It's a good matchup. So that's what I think Tio should do. Get a new trainer, get a soft touch, and then line himself up for the winner of Rayo. Hope it's Rayo, because if it's De Los Santos, it's a dangerous fight against a guy that doesn't sell tickets. But if it's Rayo, that's a bankable fight that Zuffa will do a good job with. Okay, and you guys know how I feel about Zuffa and their plans for world domination behind Ari Emanuel and Silver Lake, but I still keep it fair, as fair as I can. Speaking of Loma, who would you like to see him? What's up, Tay? Good to see Tay in the chat. Adam Hurley, Jay to plug, Angry Kick Fan Loyalty, Tio versus Jin Sasaki, not bad. What's up, J-Dub? Everybody in the chat, thank you guys. So, who would I like to see Loma come back again? Fuck it. Do the Gervonta fight after all. That was what was planned in the first place back in late 2024. Gervonta's off a layoff. He's off a layoff. Gervonta's a lot younger, but didn't look good against Lamont Roach. So, between the layoff and him coming off of a weak performance, that kind of evens the scales with Lomachenko's age and retirement. Let them go ahead and do it. Although, you know what's funny is the Pitbull Cruz rematch probably sells more. Because Pitbull can sell tickets. I've seen it. Pitbull sold 10,000 in Texas and San Antonio in December. That was a really good crowd. David Benavidez against Morrell sold better than David Benavidez against Morrell at T-Mobile. And I kept wondering why. And then someone pointed out to me, Pitbull was on the undercard of Benavidez-Morrell. I'm like, oh. So that's why there was more tickets sold that time. So, right. Do I think Mercado? Do I think Tio beats Mercado at 140? Mercado's still green, but Mercado's still green, and I feel like he stands a little upright, even though he's got sauce. He's got a bag. He's got some special effects. He fights with the lead hand low, is powerful, mean, sharp, fast. But I still feel like he leaves that chin up a little bit, Tito Mercado. But he's coming. He's coming. He's coming. You could see him coming down the pipeline. He's on his way to making noise in boxing. But I feel like, that they're not in the same bracket yet. But Mercado, I do have questions about the way his chin is up sometimes. But I like the speed. I like the power. I like the brashness. I like the offensive creativity. I like the mind state. I think he's headed places. I do. But there's still some questions he has to answer before he gets to that bracket to fight a Teofimo Lopez. But, yeah, Keyshawn versus Norman would be a banger. But Keyshawn already kind of shot that fight down when I asked him about it a couple weeks ago at Benavidez Zurdo. I said, look, Keyshawn, at 14 fights, 1 world title to your name, why would a Devin Haney look to take that fight, though? I've asked him that on the Porterway, and I asked him that at the Benavidez fight week. And he says, because I could help sell the fight. I could target it. And the point I made was, what if you got to fight a Brian Norman, who's still going to be high? I think he might even be number 1 with the WBO still, if not top 5. I'd have to check the rankings offhand. But Norman, as a former WBO champ, is going to be right in line again in the rankings for the WBO title. If you actually beat him, you could become Devin Haney's mandatory. And then instead of just barking for the fight, you're mandated for him to have to defend the title against him. So why not consider a Brian Norman fight? And he said, well, I'm not chasing Devin. I'm not chasing no man. Nah, I wouldn't do that. I'd only move up if it's for a title. And so since Brian Norman would only be for a title eliminator and not a title, he shot that fight down. But I think that might be the fight, But then again, I don't see it happening because why would Top Rank want to sacrifice one of their two young stars in a fight that isn't super big or demanded yet? Let's be realistic here for a minute. You got 25-year-old Brian Norman. You got 27, 26-year-old Keyshawn Davis. Right now, 7 pounds apart. Why sacrifice one of them right now in that kind of fight? But if you're Keyshawn Davis and you're ambitious and want the Devin Haney fight and really believe you're a number one pound for pound type talent, then you show that you take that fight. That's a big balls, big risk fight. So, but I don't think it happens. I don't think Top Rank would want it to happen. Norman versus Ryan Garcia, I'd have to favor Ryan. Look, Ryan's a problem, man. The Ryan Garcia I saw in February against Barrios is a fucking problem. That speed and power and little things, man. He's got little foot feints. He's got quicker feet than it seems. And then he's got a big right hand too. It's been underutilized in his career. You saw him drop Barrios with it. But if Ryan shows up consistent from here on out, which is a big question mark, and shows up like he did against Barrios, he's a problem for anyone. So let's see what happens. But Albright, we are almost time for the main event time. Albright is ready to treat this like the fight of his life. It's now or never for Albright, and I don't mean he could lose this fight and still fight Frank Martin in a rematch, still be a gatekeeper. But if he wants to be a primetime fighter, he's already 31 years old. This is it. This is his chance. This is an opportunity, seemingly given to him from God to make it happen. He's 30. Excuse me. He's not 31. Tail of the tape. Albright with a half-inch reach advantage. Keyshawn Davis with a 1-inch height advantage. Keyshawn 27, Albright 30 years old. Albright only 7 knockouts to his name, but showed some good power moving up from lightweight. He might have been a little bit too big for lightweight and has filled out better at 140. He looked bigger than Frank Martin, and Frank Martin was a pretty solid-sized lightweight. He looked bigger than Gervonta Davis did in their fight, and he was the smaller guy against Albright. So we'll see what we get here. Nahir Albright coming in with what looks like a Spartan mask. A Spartan helmet, excuse me. We got almost 400 people in here. Please hit the like. Please subscribe if you aren't subscribed already. We're trying to hit 42,000 tonight. So let's have fun in this main event. Do I think Zayas has a chance to outbox Boots? I do think he has a chance. That doesn't mean I'm picking him, but I do think he has a chance. So here comes Albright to the ring. Spartan mask on. Shout out to Kratos and God of War, the first 3 ones when that series was actually good and fun to play. A no contest against Keyshawn Davis because of Keyshawn testing positive for weed. I thought Keyshawn clearly won that fight. I didn't see the 95-95 scorecard. He beat killer Carlos Balderas, Falcao, who was a gold medalist. So he's beaten some solid competition lately. Had that draw with Frank Martin, came on strong, hurt Frank Martin. Frank Martin almost looked like he was going to get stopped late in that fight. So here comes Nahir Albright. I feel like a lot of hardcore boxing fans are kind of rooting for the upset. Keyshawn has kind of rubbed them the wrong way for whatever reasons the last several months. And so much so in the last couple days heading into this fight that we're almost forgetting Keyshawn looked superb against Jermaine Ortiz in New York in January on the co-main of Shakur Teo. I mean, looked absolutely superb. His positioning, his patience, his jab, his right hand, that left hook to the body was a thing of beauty. I mean, Keyshawn looked like an elite level fighter last time out, a guy destined sooner than later to get to the top 10 pound for pound. I was really thoroughly impressed with Keyshawn against Jermaine Ortiz. Thought he could have been a little bit busier and even made that stoppage happen sooner. That's how much in control he was of Jermaine Ortiz. But here he comes to the ring tonight. Not a sellout like it was in Norfolk when he fought Lemos. But he's back in Norfolk now. Got these 3 women singing for him. I wonder if those are his sisters. Or is that a group? Who is it? Yeah, it's his sisters. Okay. Chantel, Charisse, and Felicia, his 3 sisters, singing for Keyshawn Davis. And this is a night he's going to have to get Norfolk back on board. Norfolk said, we got standards, young man. We're not showing up in support. You can't just play with our money and our time like that. So, yeah, Maria C. said that was a stellar performance. It was. I mean, I thought it was a professional, cold, clinical, spiteful, everything. I thought the accuracy, the positioning, the right hand, the jab, the defense. I thought he looked like an elite level fighter on that night in January 31st. Let's see how he looks now. Keyshawn coming to the ring now. And I haven't felt as much fire from Keyshawn coming into this fight, but there's no way I'm picking against him. Not with his silver medal background and pedigree, and not the way he looked in his last fight. I mean, he looked superb last fight. So I'm not picking against Keyshawn Davis, but some of his demeanor heading into this fight kind of adds to the intrigue for me in this fight. I think ultimately he will be too much for Nahir Albright, but I think at some point you will see the spite of Keyshawn Davis come out. But I think Albright will make him work for it. But I think at some point the talent will show, the punching power will show. Keyshawn kind of has it all. He has a good defense. He has a good jab. He has a good right hand. He's a good body puncher. He's physical on the inside. And I think at some point that class will tell over time. And I think he can stop Nahir Albright in this fight. But Albright may make it tough on him before we get to that point where Davis gets the checkmate. Still a good crowd on hand in Norfolk. Although one part of the arena is empty, but still looks like a few thousand people definitely showed up for Keyshawn Davis, and he's in the ring now. Silver and black robe, bouncing up and down, and let's see how he looks tonight. What's up, Steve Santiago? Should Keyshawn just go ahead and move up to 147 after this fight, or is it too soon? I think it might be a little too soon. But let's see how he looks here. He is destined for welterweight, like Haney was. He is one of these guys that starts at lightweight, but is going to be a welterweight, like De La Hoya, like Haney, like Mosley, etc. But it'd be nice to win a title at 140, but who's going to fight him? Why would Dalton Smith give him that fight? He's not in the WBC rankings. The only one he's in the rankings for is Shakur, and we know the story on that one. But Shakur might vacate it, and shit. Who's next in line at 140 behind Shakur? Who's next in line? Who would he fight in a vacant WBO title fight at 140? It would be Alfredo Santiago, the guy Devin Haney beat on a Logan Paul undercard in 2019. Does that have any sizzle, chat? Or Lindolfo Delgado? Sorry, neither one has the sizzle. Respect to Lindolfo. Nope, that's not going to do it. IBF? Oh, Lindolfo Delgado again. Or it could be Oscar Duarte. Okay, Duarte. Okay, that's cool. That works, but okay. Okay is the word I would use to describe that. All right, so at 140, realistically, he would either get to fight Oscar Duarte for a vacant IBF belt, okay, or Alfredo Santiago or Lindolfo Delgado for the WBO belt. And Delgado is actually ranked number 1 with the IBF, but Duarte and Davis is a bigger fight than Delgado and Davis. So, yeah, you know what? We got to be realistic here. It might have to be Oscar Duarte for the IBF title. Tank ain't fighting Keyshawn Davis. Tank ain't fighting Keyshawn Davis. All right, so Albright with the Spartan helmet on. A little bit of a nod to Bernard Hopkins. Hopkins used to come in with the extras. Sometimes the executioner mask from Philly. Keyshawn looks nervous, says Mins. I didn't see that in the way to the ring. I didn't see that. Albright looks ready. And Keyshawn is a guy that shines under bright lights. I think he's built. He likes that. he likes fighting under bright lights. So I don't see nerves from him in this fight. I see confidence, good sweat worked up. And actually, I think it looks like the lights are turned on in his eyes under the bright lights. He's got his robe saying "The Amazing." He's pushed that nickname a little less. Tay NB, why are you saying it like that, Sean? Which fight? Which fight are you picking up on? Which one, Tay? Keyshawn and Duarte? It's a good fight. It's a good fight. It's an appetizer on the road to more meaningful fights in his career. Vacant IBF title fight, Duarte and Keyshawn. That actually sounds about right. No wonder he was mentioning Oscar Duarte in that interview we had, in the scrum we had, me and a bunch of other reporters. Maybe that's why he mentioned Duarte, vacant IBF title fight. That makes sense. Keyshawn about to lose? I don't think so. I just think he's too good. It would be a huge upset for me. Even with missing the weight the first time and seeming a little apathetic, going through the motions at times with this fight, even with some of his psychological battles, and I think he's too good. Even with Albright being prepared for the moment of his life, I think reality will set in at some point in this fight that Keyshawn Davis is just a better fighter than Nahir Albright by a level or two. But early on, tough weight cut. Albright on point, poised to try to change his life and everything, have his moment. I think he could give Keyshawn some fits in this fight for a number of rounds. But I'm saying right now, I'm calling it now, at some point, Davis will be too much for him. Overall, the skill, the speed, the power, the defense, it'll be too much. So we'll see. Saying Tank won't fight Key. I just think he won't, Tay. I don't think so. I don't think... He's already 31, inactive, and Keyshawn's got a lot of work to do to entice Tank to want to take that kind of fight. And he's very dangerous, and he's only moving up in weight. He's big. Yeah, I just don't see it happening, unfortunately. All right, round one. Here we go. Keyshawn steps to Albright. And already working his lead hand up and down with feints and positioning. Stabs the body with a jab. Davis coming out seemingly with some bad intentions. Got a 1, 2, 3 by Davis. Quick. Oh, sharp jab to the body. Keyshawn coming out like a storm with his energy. Looking for, just intense. Nice jab by Keyshawn up top. Keyshawn coming in with that spite. Like he started in round one with Jermaine Ortiz. Hooks off the jab, lands the jab, and he has got Wu on his heels to start a little bit. Albright trying to keep his composure, but Davis came out with a lot of intensity. Now a jab lands for Albright, and they get into the clinch. Davis can be very physical in the clinch. Tries to break out of that clinch. Davis with some menacing energy in round one. Let's see if the fight settles in now. Albright a little bit put on his heels from the intensity by Keyshawn Davis in round one. Now he settles in, holds his ground in the center of the ring. Davis touching with his jab up top. A lot of upper body movement by Davis. Not so much head movement, but just motioning with his lead hand low. Davis gets Albright into the headlock right there. And that's that physicality of Keyshawn. He could be mean in those clinches. Ref breaks him apart. Keyshawn taking little half steps back. Right hand cocked. Steps out to his right. Resets in the center of the ring. Feints. Albright picking his hands up. Fight settling in now. Davis shoots a couple of right hands behind his jab. Albright keeps his left hand up to block a couple of those. They trade jabs. Davis is sharper that time in the center of the ring. Double jab by Albright. Makes Davis have to stay on the outside. Davis, nice sharp jab to the body there. Shooting it from his hip. Lead left hook, right hand by Davis. Albright gets his head off the line, ties Davis up. Referee breaks him apart. Albright trying to step forward to Keyshawn now. And they get into another clinch. Referee breaks him up. Keyshawn settling down after that hot first 30 seconds. And I think he made, he actually had an opportunity to catch. There's a straight right hand by Keyshawn Davis. Shakes his head after landing it like, you got nothing for me tonight, bro. Jab to the body by Keyshawn. Jab up top. Working it from his hip. Lead left hook touch. Oh, Davis fakes a right hand from behind his back and then steps off dismissively of Albright. He is trying to let Albright know you are not on my level with his body language, with little looks. Jab to the body by Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn's eyes wide open. And that's it for round one. And that was a Keyshawn Davis round. Yeah. The real water says Keyshawn looks poised behind the aggression. Yeah, he came out hot and then settled down as the round went on. Most effective punch that round, jab to the body, was pretty consistent for Keyshawn whenever he threw it. Throwing it from around his hip, from his midsection, boom, stabbing with it, and just being active with his upper body. A lot of pep in his step, a lot of bounce in his feet, but not jumping up and down, just active, not like swaying his head side to side or anything like that, just threatening a little bit with his body language and almost, let's call it body feints, okay? Not so much hand feints or foot feints, but almost like body feints, if that makes sense, from Keyshawn Davis. And some hand feints as well. Nice feints by Keyshawn Davis, setting up that 1-2-3 early in round one on the slow-mo. Keyshawn got that look in his eyes now that it's fight time that he had for Jamaine Ortiz. Albright is trying to just work his way into this fight here with composure, not get caught big early on. So here we go, round two. Nice jab for Albright. Davis steps over to his left. Albright coming forward behind a couple of touch jabs. Davis now near the corner. Albright coming forward now. Works a little combination. Not putting a lot on those shots, but just finding the gloves of Keyshawn and touching him. Finding where he's at. Now Albright comes forward. Nice jab by Davis, and he digs in a right hand to the midsection, but Albright keeping his elbows tucked in well there, catching some of those shots on the elbows. Davis, lead right hand to the body. Albright trying to counter with a left hook, and you begin to see the skill from both fighters in round two. Albright short with a jab, but Albright settling in, getting off more punches in round two than he did in round one. Davis stepping over to his right, foot feints, feigning, threatening with the right hand, making Albright pick his hands up and be honest against him. Albright shifts his weight around a little bit, shoots an up jab to the body, and Davis ties him up. Both fighters loosening up now. Albright loosening up after being forced to be tight against the intensity of Davis in round one. Nice jab a minute ago by Davis, and another nice jab, and a sharp right hand to the body by Davis off that jab up top in the center of the ring. Davis, lead hand, locked in at his, beautiful up jab by Keyshawn Davis. That was like a power jab right from the hip by Keyshawn Davis, keeping his left hand right across his stomach, and that up jab had some real snap on it. That was a beautiful jab by Keyshawn Davis. Davis feinting in the center of the ring. Gets underneath a beautiful 1-2. Actually gets his head off to the line to the left side. Makes Wu Albright whiff on a 1-2 down the pipe. Davis with good head movement there. So Davis showing you the jab, showing you the right hand of the body, showing you the head movement, showing you the different stance with the left hand across the body, and a lot of confidence in that ring. Albright, though, feinting with Davis, fighting at a good level himself, even if he's a step behind the talent of Keyshawn Davis. Albright tries to lead with a right hand and walks into a counter combination by Davis. Davis made a reach with the right hand. Albright got his hands up, defensively responsible, but had to take a few punches in that combination sequence by Davis. Davis takes a step back and hits him with a jab right after that, about 5-10 seconds after. So Albright struggling with the ranginess and the athleticism by Keyshawn. Keyshawn taking a page out of Shakur's book there while keeping his position, but just needing a little step back to make you fall short and then counter with something right after that, taking that step back in. It's beautiful stuff. Keyshawn smiling at him like, ooh, you know I'm nice. I got too much for you. Albright, though, not trying to bite on that confidence and keep his composure. He's behind 2 rounds to zip, but fought well in that second round. Just a step behind, a little bit outgunned. Thank you, Big James, for the $20 super chat, brother. Says, do your thing. Salute from the San Francisco Bay Area. Ace, shout out, James. Thank you, brother. Go Niners. Appreciate that. Yeah, Keyshawn is just much faster, says Brewski. Yeah, the athleticism of Albright. Albright is matching him at times, feint for feint, IQ for IQ. But Keyshawn is just better than him. He is quicker, a little bit snappier than him, a little bit more athletic, can step around a little quicker, got a little bit more snap and power, got a little bit faster hands. It's not an IQ thing for Albright. Albright has that. He's an intelligent fighter. He's a real pro. But Davis is more of a thoroughbred talent, and that has him ahead 2 rounds to zip early on. Let's see if Albright, though, can stay patient and continue to make Keyshawn have to work for everything. Keyshawn, overhand right. Right hand over the top for Albright. Lands on the top of Keyshawn's head. Keyshawn goes, ooh, like as if to say, that could have done something. Sharp straight right hand by Davis, and then he ties Albright up. That was right down the pipe and sharp. Albright not easy to catch with a clean shot, but is getting touched here and there. They get into the clinch, and Davis ties him up in that headlock, is the boss in the clinch with that positioning. Referee telling him, you got to knock some of that off. Davis exits that clinch with a jab to the body. Davis moving his head around a little bit. Fight is taking place in the center of the ring at a good skill level right now. Fighters having to stay behind their jabs, having to feint for everything. Davis with a sharper jab, though. Able to get it home a little bit more accurately than Albright. Sharp straight right hand by Davis. Albright blocks it. Albright very defensively responsible right now. Jab almost lands for Davis. They both overshoot each other and get into the clinch again. And again, Davis a little bit stronger, a little bit more physical than Albright in the clinch, who's doing what he can to hold his own in those clinches, but still getting muscled around a little bit. Halfway through the third. Davis drops that lead hand even lower now. Big right hand for Davis over the top, and then he tries to go right back downstairs to the body after getting his head off the line for a punch that was just a half millisecond too late by Albright. Albright knows when to punch. It's just he's a little bit behind the mark on the quicker Davis. Davis got such a good positioning for his right hand. Good little right uppercut to the body by Davis. Albright trying to fire left hooks to the body. Intelligent punch selection by Albright, but Davis just too slick and too quick early on. Albright doing the right thing at the right time, but just doesn't have the quickness to make Davis pay for anything right now. And Davis technically sound enough and smart enough and has enough skill set that he's just a step ahead. These are some high-level sequences. Davis gets off a 4-punch combination. Freezes him behind the jab and brings the right hand and 2 punches behind it after that right hand. Albright forced to have to answer to what Davis is doing instead of being the dictator there. Davis is the dictator. He is the fighter a step ahead with his talent. You got 2 well-schooled, high IQ fighters, but again, one that's just a little bit more talented, that is just more talented than the other, not little bit. Davis goes to his high guard now. So you're seeing a couple, and that's it. Lands a jab at the bell, 3-0 Keyshawn Davis. Albright making him work for it, not getting blown out, but a step or 2 behind. And Davis ended that round with a high guard. He's had the left hand across his stomach. He dropped the left hand low to his knee that round. He's got a couple of different looks. He's slick. He's hard to hit. He's got a good jab. He's showing the skill set that makes him Keyshawn Davis. Very excellent fighter is Keyshawn Davis. Now, yet to have that explosiveness. He has shown some explosiveness and snap in a few combinations, but Albright is a defensively responsible and aware fighter. So Keyshawn's yet to hit him with a real big shot. But he's up 3-0. So, let's see. How do you notice good IQ in fights, Sean? Well, you see the way Davis is always expecting something to come back. He's disciplined by usually using the jab first. He feints first. He doesn't punch naked. Right there, he feinted to start the 4th round, shot a jab, and went with the right hand of the body. He has a versatile punch selection. He will punch with both hands to the body. He'll throw a hook to the body, a sweeping right hand to the body, a straight right hand to the body. He'll use the up jab. He'll change his looks with his stance. He'll feint before everything. He'll lead with the right hand. He'll take steps back and try to trap you into a right hand. He'll fire a right hand or a combination off the jab. He does many different things that make him an excellent fighter. And that's how you could tell he has a high IQ. Now, from Albright, he's always defensively responsible. He always feints. He's trying to use his jab even when it's not landing. He's not getting away. Right there, he lands a jab, smothers Keyshawn, and tries to get to his body. Keyshawn, though, again, getting rough with him in the clinches, jams his elbow into his face a little bit. Up jab, a beautiful stab jab to the body by Keyshawn out of that clinch. Minute into the 4th round. Albright trying to move off the line a little bit. Give him a little bit of movement. Then he smothers Keyshawn. Albright is struggling to find answers in there against Keyshawn. He's sometimes going to his high guard and trying to smother Keyshawn, see if he can rough him up there, but that's not going to work either. Keyshawn's very physical in those clinches. So Albright, he's just going to have to be patient and hope at some point, he can find Keyshawn in between punches, which is hard to do because Davis gets off quicker first on the trigger, and defensively he expects something to come back after he gets off first. He's a complete fighter in that regard. Now, the referee is telling Keyshawn to knock it off in the clinches quite a bit, and that's fair. Keyshawn does get questionable in those clinches. Oh, left hook by Davis just off the mark out of that little scuffle after the referee talks to both of them. Albright short with his jab. Davis steps back in with his jab. Albright steps out of range. Albright lands his jab as Davis steps into range, but Davis smothers him onto the ropes, buries his head into Albright's chin, and the referee is having a hard time keeping control of Keyshawn Davis right now. 40 seconds left in the round. Not an action fight, but a tactical fight by both fighters. Davis picks that lead hand up, goes to the long guard, now drops it back down. Albright doesn't know what to do offensively, falls into a clinch. 20 seconds left. Albright shoots a jab to the body. Back comes Davis with a sharp jab up top. Lead right hand for Davis to the body. Albright fences him off with his own jab. Ugly round. Not a lot of punches being landed in this fight. But another round for Keyshawn Davis. 1-2 right there near the bell for Albright. Davis, though, dips to his bottom right, gets out of the way. Albright tries to lead with a right hand. Davis doing a lot of clinching after Albright tries to fire a shot. 4-0 Davis, but that was an ugly round. Do I still play undisputed? No, not really, not much. Keyshawn's getting frustrated, can't control his emotions, says Young Elder. Yeah. Duarte would make this a funner fight. I think Keyshawn would knock Duarte out. Duarte's just too basic defensively. But, Keyshawn is a little thin. Duarte's very strong. Duarte will cut the distance, and Keyshawn will try to... It may look like the Miguel Medueno fight in spots. I think Keyshawn at some point, though, would walk him into something nasty and knock him out. Silly Gilly says, I swear there is no clean punches landing on both ends. Nah, not really. But Keyshawn is a step ahead. Keyshawn's winning the fight. Yeah, hasn't been a fun fight so far. Round 5. And Albright. And I said on Sean's show, Albright could just play spoiler. Could just make Keyshawn, not get what he wants, which is something impressive. Lead left uppercut misses for Davis. Davis feints. Probes a little bit with that lead hand. Drops it down to his waist. Shoots a stab jab to the body. Albright short with a jab. Davis short with a lead left hook. Goes back to... they trade right hands and both get their head off the line and both miss each other and then fall into a clinch. But that's the kind of setup Albright's got to hope for, is to punch with Davis. 2 hard body shots by Keyshawn Davis as he takes a step out to the center of the ring. Digs a right hand and a left hook to the body. Up jab by Davis. Hard sweeping right hand to the body by Davis. And Albright is taking some chances now. Trying to lead with right hands after taking those hard body shots by Davis. And he backs Davis up a little bit. Albright started letting some right hands fly after that. Give him credit for starting to take some chances, knowing this fight isn't going his way. And Albright got caught with a right hand, too, in a sequence, but he also landed a right hand on Davis. Now Davis, let's see if he's got some of Keyshawn's respect. Lead left hook for Albright. That's not going to work against an athletic, twitchy fighter when Albright isn't a super twitchy fighter himself. A lead left hook at that distance isn't going to get it done. Albright's going to have to stay in range and punch with Davis at some point. And he started to do that a moment ago. They trade jabs. Keyshawn's jab a little bit stiffer. But Albright is starting to take some chances in the 5th round. Davis plants his back leg in the center of the ring. Lead hand low, right hand by the chin. Shifts his head around, makes Albright miss a jab. Digging right uppercut to the body by Keyshawn after he gets underneath that jab. And again, he puts his elbow into Albright, and he looks at the ref as if to say, he's holding me. What do you want me to do? 50 seconds left in this round. Another Davis round. They trade jabs there. Keyshawn getting low, feints it. Looks like he wants something to the body. Always threatening with a right hand up top and body shots to supplement it. Actually, Albright gets off a lead right hand there. 1, 2, 3 by Davis. Really good speed right there. Albright handcuffed with the hands up. Can't get off back, but does block that 1, 2, 3. But it was a 1, 2, 3 that pierced that high guard a little bit there. Keyshawn holding his ground in the center of the ring. Steps over to Albright. Albright lowers his lead hand. Albright looking like the first guy that might get a little tired. 2 hard body shots by Keyshawn off the right hand up top, like I was just talking about a minute ago. He threatens with that right hand up top and with the body shots to supplement it. He has a way of giving a look that sets up both of those at the same time. You don't know if it's the right hand up top or if he's getting low to dig something to the body, and he can punctuate and initiate with either one. He could either initiate with the body shot, a stab, close the gap and go to the body twice and clean up with the right hand, or you could lead with the right hand, get underneath and anticipate whatever you got in response and finish and punctuate to the body. So, yeah, 5 rounds to zip for Keyshawn Davis. So, yeah, not an exciting fight right now, though. Not an exciting fight. A fight being fought in the center of the ring. A fight with a good amount of feints and defensive responsibility. Good IQ, but not a lot of action. Keyshawn, though, did land some really good body shots that round. And that might be what eventually starts to break down Wu Albright, who to me looks like the fighter who's going to get tired first. Keyshawn looks like he could fight like this for 15 rounds. Albright is the one I think will give a little bit first. Keyshawn getting off with a combination first. 1-2, 1-2, and digs a body shot. And again, and that's little by little, he can start to chip away at Albright right now, it looks like. Got to stay to the body, does Keyshawn. There's a 1-2 over the top by Keyshawn. Kind of a chopping right hand behind that jab as Albright. Oh, beautiful combination in close by Keyshawn now. Off a left uppercut to the body and a left uppercut up top. 2 hard body shots by Davis now and a sweeping right hand up top. Nice combinations by Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn nods his head and does a cutthroat as if to say it's about that time to get to cooking him. And I do think Albright is starting to feel it a little bit. The gap is widening now to start round 6. Keyshawn's got to stay consistent with that, and he could stop Albright, I think. Albright trying to find answers in there. But Davis is very hard to hit right now. Oh, chopping right hand by Keyshawn. Off the jab to the body and a right hand to the body and then a chopping right hand up top. And that's what I mean. He can initiate with the body and punctuate with the right hand or vice versa. That makes him difficult to deal with. You know, say what you want about Keyshawn, man, but he's a very good fucking fighter. Very skilled, very fast, and slick, and mean. Now, he's got to prove it against better fighters than Nahir Albright, but I'm just telling you what the eyes see. Now he goes to the high guard, does Davis. Takes a step out of range. Shoots a jab. Albright looking out of answers right now. Davis falls short with a lead left hook, straight right hand. Back comes Albright with a jab, but can't touch Davis. There's a jab for Albright, but Davis eats it and shoots a hard right hand to the body that gets the better of that sequence. Let's see if Keyshawn can work off that up jab and dig back to the body. He's got to work off of whatever woo Albright is giving him. And Albright, he has different looks, so whatever look he's giving you, take the opening that's there. Sometimes it's the right hand over the top, followed by the body shots or vice versa. Other times it's the up jab or it's the jab to freeze him with a combination. That time, a nice counter by Davis. Albright took a step inside and got countered with 2 shots, a left hook, sweeping right hand. And then Davis followed it up by pushing him to the ropes with another combination. Now they're back in the center of the ring. 12 seconds left in the 6th. Dominant round for Keyshawn. Lead left hook to the body. The same one that stopped Ortiz. And that landed. Albright ties him up. And this is going to do it for the 6th round. But that gap widened in round 6. And Albright, with a little bit of a look of, yeah, you're right. I mean, Albright's going to hold it tough, but this is starting to feel like the Jermaine Ortiz fight where it could be a late stoppage now for Keyshawn Davis. So, yeah. Yep. Those body shots are hard, says Nicholas. They are. No, he's a good body puncher, man. He's a good body puncher, and he's got a hard right hand. He's got a lot, man. He's got a lot. He brings a lot of tools to the table. And he's smart and mean and slick. I'm a Keyshawn Davis believer. Gotta see it in bigger fights against better competition. There's still going to be questions there about, psychologically and all that shit and missing, but he's very talented, good digging body shots to start this 7th round. Off the jab, cuts the distance, covers up in a high guard to block whatever Albright responds with. Time to get to chopping down the wood if you're Keyshawn Davis. Keep staying to that body, and you will get Albright out of there at some point. But if Albright goes into prevent defense, he can make this fight 12 just by going to prevent defense. He can do that. But Albright not doing that yet. Albright actually trying to smother Keyshawn and throw a right uppercut. Keyshawn has to go to a knee. Referee wipes his gloves. Keyshawn picking his hands up. Blocking a jab by Albright. And with Davis, too, you never know what he's going to do. Is he going to take a half step back and try to trap you into a right hand and counter you, walk you into a quick combination? Is he going to freeze you off his own jab and step to you? Is he going to put his elbow in your face in a clinch? Keyshawn lead hand low and that's just stupid by Keyshawn. He tackled Albright. Albright got his hand around Keyshawn, and Keyshawn picked him up off his feet and threw him to the ground. Wiry strength by Keyshawn Davis. The crowd seems amused by that. He's going to get a point taken away, as he should. That was being extra. That was being overzealous by Keyshawn and unnecessary. So just being a bully right there. All right, halfway through the 7th. Albright gets Keyshawn near the ropes, but doesn't dare try to capitalize on his position because Keyshawn backs him off with the threat of a sharp combination. They trade jabs. Albright lands his jab, but Davis with a menacing right hand over the top. Albright pulls away from it, but that right hand looks like a problem over the top. If it lands clean, it can hurt Albright, no question about it. Minute left in the 7th. Lead left uppercut for Albright. Davis smothers it. Minute left in the round. Feels like something could pop off here. They're trading jabs. Will there be a moment in this fight that is significant in terms of action? It's yet to happen. Another clinch by the two fighters. And Keyshawn making a lot of facial expressions, but is yet to make good on it with something truly explosive. I'm giving him credit for his skill set, but against Albright, who can be difficult to look good against, he hasn't been able to put together anything sensational. 30 seconds left in the round. 1-2 by Keyshawn. Albright rolls his shoulders around, but has to eat that 1-2. But not eating it fresh on the button. And Keyshawn not able to get that full leverage. Keyshawn changes speed and leverage on his punches. He hasn't been able to land that jackpot right hand that he really sits down and plants on. Lead right hand by Davis to the body. A lead straight right hand to the body by Davis near the end of the round and able to duck underneath. Again, shows how slick and athletic he is. But yeah, that's a point deduction. Yeah, that was some BS to deduct the point. Yeah, they definitely did deduct a point, as they should have. That was kind of nonsense by Keyshawn. Focus on staying to his body, off the jab, all those kinds of things. You don't need to pick him up off his feet and slam him. So that was just disrespectful and extra. That was the best highlight of the fight. So as much as I'm giving Davis credit for his talent, his versatility, he hasn't been spectacular tonight. And I understand the kind of opponent he's up against. A savvy veteran who's good at not getting put on a highlight reel, okay? Some vets are good at this and playing spoiler. But your best highlight of the night so far was that tackle. Quick little combination by Davis to start as he takes that step in. Nice jab by Albright. Albright landing some jabs here and there. And Davis can't land that right hand over the top because Albright is just as long as he is and keeping that jab in his face. This is good experience for a Devin Haney fight one day for Keyshawn Davis, because Devin is going to give him the same problem. See, Davis likes to be a sniper with his right hand over the top of your jab. But if he fights a fighter as long as him and as quick as him, like Devin Haney, that look isn't going to be there the way he likes it to be there. So he'll have to look for other things against someone like Devin Haney. Albright with a jab right hand, and Davis comes back with his own powerful right hand that knocks him off balance. Now a lead left hook from Davis. Albright seems a little bit shook up from a moment ago from that right hand. Even though it didn't land fully clean, it had enough power and conviction on it that even as he rolled it, it got to hit the attention of his legs a little bit. But Davis went to the canvas after Albright tries to give him some of his own medicine and shove him down. Crowd is starting to be entertained, even though not a lot of clean punches are landing. They like the roughhouse tactics and the venom both fighters have for each other. The disrespect on Keyshawn's side, and Albright trying to show him not a punk by coming back at him in the clinch. Halfway through the 8th, not a lot to choose from this round. Davis heavy on that back foot. Oh, sweeping right hand of the body off the jab. Hard right hand of the body right there. But Davis has gotten away from the work that was putting together in the 6th. Now he closes up with a combination in close. Left hook, right hand. Albright, though, hard to catch clean. Albright trying to catch him off beat with his own left hook as he exited that exchange. Nice sharp jab by Davis. Sharp right hand in the clinch by Davis. Created a little bit of separation when Albright went in for the clinch and nailed him with a right hand. Albright took it well. 45 seconds left. Davis feigning, changing level positioning with his lead hand. Pushes Albright out, lets go of him, resets in the center of the ring. Albright short with a jab, but Davis staying right in front of him, making him fall short with it. 2 hard body shots by Keyshawn, but Albright makes him miss the left hook, right uppercut up top. Albright can't touch Davis up top. Misses the 1-2. Davis shoulders off. Shoulder rolls off. Gets his shoulder into his body for the clinch. 10 seconds left. Nice exchange in the center of the ring. Davis gets the better of it with a hard right hand to the body. Sweeping right hand to the body like a right hook. Left hook to the body by Davis. Hard right hand by Davis inside that clinch area. Albright nods his head as if to say, I take that fine. But that was a good, sharp right hand. A couple of chopping right hands by Keyshawn out of the clinch that time. The crowd is enjoying it, if nothing else, for the energy in the ring. Pusha T looks like he's enjoying it ringside. So while it's been, as the Mac says, the fight is trash. While it's been a kind of ugly fight without a lot of clean moments and punches landed, there's enough animosity in the ring that, the crowd's into it in Norfolk. So at least there's that. Big James says, Nahir just not up to this level. No, he's not, but it's a talent thing. He's not a twitchy guy. He's not a Devin Haney, Shakur. He's not a bad athlete. He's not slow. Don't get me wrong. But compared to your Keyshawns, your Ryans, your Devins, your Shakors, your Gervantes, he doesn't have that twitch. And that's really the difference right now. And Keyshawn is a little bit more skilled than him, too, in part because of that twitch. That twitch gives him more freedom to do more things as a fighter. So Keyshawn again, looking at the ref like he's tying me up and headlocks him 15 seconds into the 9th round. And yeah, it does start to feel like we're going to be in the distance. It looked like in the 6th round, if Keyshawn could have stuck to a few things that were working, mainly the body attack, he could have started to break Albright down. But that's what was stupid about, that tackle. And it's just, you start to get into the dumb shit instead of being a professional and chopping the wood and being composed and clinical. And instead, you'd rather, roughhouse with him in the clinch. You'd rather make faces to your corner. All those kinds of things instead of being a cold, clinical assassin in there. So, yeah, he's spending more time making faces at the ref for who is and isn't clinching than he is chopping that body, working behind his jab. It's like he wants to street fight in the clinch instead of using his clean boxing skills to set up a clinical stoppage, which I think he has the skill set to, but psychologically he isn't being disciplined enough in that regard the last 7, 8, and now into the 9th round. Because Albright is making him work. Albright isn't winning, but he's making him work for it. He's making him, you're going to have to eat your vegetables before you get to your steak. And Davis wants his steak already. And at this point, he's grown a little tired of it. He's tired of Albright not complying. He was beginning to break him down in the 6th, but Albright wouldn't go silently into the night. And ever since that tackle, Davis has gotten away from his accuracy and his jab a little bit and has landed some mean chopping right hands in the clinch, but the body shots are disappearing a little bit. The jab's disappearing a little bit. There he leads with a right hand. See, that's him just looking for the shot right there and not setting it up. See, this is good commentary by your boy. I know when I'm doing my fucking thing, okay? There is a good combination by Davis. Finishes it with a right hand to the body. It was a 1, 2, 3 up top, and he punctuates with a right hand to the body. That's more of the work he needs to do. 25 seconds here left in the 9th. Albright just playing spoiler now. Still staying with his jab. Still being slick. Nice body shot by Albright. Set it up with a right hand up top and a left hook to the body. And Davis smiles and does a little dance. But that's not, again, being professional and composed. There's too much antics from Keyshawn Davis. That's it for the 9th. LB says Keyshawn's very immature and has a weak mentality, which may mean he never hits the tip top. I think the immature line is fair, and I think the weak mentality is too strong. I don't think he's got a weak mentality. This reminds, you could say it's weak in the sense of what I'm getting at. He's not saying disciplined enough, and Clint, like a true pound-for-pound elite pro, is going to just keep working and working and working until they break your motherfucking ass down. And Keyshawn got away from that. So weak in that regard, but I don't think he's weak in that, like he doesn't have dog and grit. I don't think that at all. I think he is a dog in that regard. I think he's tough and spiteful and mean in the ring. But Terrence Crawford was able to balance that out with cold, clinical composure and precision to go with that spite. And Keyshawn isn't doing that right now. He's letting that part of him override the rest of his temperament. And that's where he could take a page out of Bud Crawford, who fights with the same kind of spite and meanness that Keyshawn Davis has carried into the ring, but uses all those tools, and Keyshawn's got a lot of tools, and settles down and puts it together. And then it's like, if you want to turn up, then turn up. Turn up the punch volume. Don't turn up the roughhousing tactics in the clinch and the facial expressions. Turn up the volume. That's what Crawford would do if he was pissed and you were starting to not comply and you were bloodying his nose or or pissing him off and not going silently, he would start to turn it up. And that's more the turn up Keyshawn needs to do instead of turning up in the clinch, turning up with an attitude, so to speak. You know what I mean? So, minute into the 10th round, Albright staying in front. Left hook to the body by Keyshawn in the center of the ring. But Albright is going to make this a distance fight, it would seem. And that'll be a measure of pride for Albright. Look, I can swim at this level. I can hang. All right? I'm a legit pro. You could put me in with a world-class talent, a potential pound-for-pound talent, and I belong. And that's where Albright will hold his head back high to Philly, even though I've maybe only given him a round, if that. But he's made Keyshawn Davis really work for it tonight. And Davis was working for it, and then just when it was starting to work for him, mentally didn't stay composed enough to hold it together and produce what he really wants, which is a stoppage. We still got 7 minutes left in the fight, but it looks like we are headed to the final bell. That's what it feels like we're headed. I think Davis has now gotten away from too many of the tactical answers that are working, and you lose a rhythm. You lose a flow state when you do that, it would seem. So now he's bouncing up on his toes, does a little Ali shuffle. Albright corners him. And Albright's a good, what's the right word? A good bluffer. Right when you take your step out of range, he goes on you to make it look like, hey, I'm still in this fight. I'm still trying to win this fight. But Albright is only going to get but so zealous himself. Now, he is coming forward this round. But it's a little bit like a glorified bluff. He's not really going for broke behind on the cards. It's just he's showing pride as a world-class fighter that I'm not just fighting to survive. I'm still trying to push some offensive opportunities. I'm making it tough for this guy. I'm holding my own with this guy, and I'm giving a respectable account of myself. That's what Albright is doing there. Nash, thank you. I was going to say that earlier, the real water, with the comment of the chat. Nahir is to Keyshawn what Karen is to Boots. Correctamundo, my friend. That's exactly what I was going to say that a couple minutes ago. 100% I agree with that. My wife is cooking an amazing steak. I can smell it. That shit smells good. Keyshawn, we're missing steak because of this. This has not been a steak missing worthy performance. But I know what I'm looking at. Albright isn't making it. I think I've explained pretty well what's going on in this fight, chat. Is that fair? All right, round 11. Davis has been taking too much out of his rhythm now. But is still on his way to winning the fight. So, nice sharp jab by Davis to get him started, but yep, and they clinch again. Davis overshoots a lead left hook. Albright ties him up. Up jab by Keyshawn. And yeah. Sean showing off a nice meal on fire for him. I don't. It's for my son though. I'm missing out on it. Headlock by Albright in the clinch. You gotta forgive me. We're tapering off on the commentary a little bit here and waiting for something significant to happen. Otherwise, I feel I've already told the story of the fight. Okay, Davis lands a nice sharp jab there. There's a sweeping right hand to the body by Davis. Tries to shoot a right hand up top after that. Albright tying him up, not letting him get off too much offensively there. Davis looks like he's starting to pick up his intensity a little bit here now, halfway through the 11th. 1-2, left hook to the body, jab to the body. Albright tying up. Albright trying to cool off that storm a little bit. Say, okay, lead left hand lands for Davis. Davis trying to punch in combination a little bit more now. Nice left hook to the body by Davis. That was well placed. Left uppercut by Davis. Chopping right hand to the body by Davis. Good combination on the inside by Keyshawn Davis. Albright covering up. Left uppercut for Davis again. Davis picking up his energy, picking up the focus now. Lead 2 left hooks up top for Keyshawn Land. Albright weathering the storm. Now it's time to go into prevent defense and just make it out of this round if you're Albright. Minute left. Actually, though, Albright, if he's looking for a chance to land one big shot, now is the time when Keyshawn's being offensive-minded, but Albright is overwhelmed by the firepower by Davis, who has renewed his focus here in the 11th. Albright lands a jab, ties Davis up, takes air out of the football. Running the clock out. Sweeping right hand of the body, left hook to the body. Oh, hard left hook out of that sequence by Keyshawn Davis. Albright keeping his hands up, though. 27 seconds left. That was a good burst, a good spurt by Keyshawn Davis. But Albright sees the light at the end of the tunnel, might be a little bit too close to it. 2 left uppercuts on the inside by Albright. Keyshawn smiles at him, and that's what I mean. That's taking your foot off the gas psychologically. And now Keyshawn has to seem to reset his energy after that spurt. He went Kaioken there for a second, and then it wore off. Davis, that look in his eyes, exits at the conclusion of the 11th. And that's where Bud Crawford never switched off that look in his eyes. Davis summoned it for 2/3 of that round, and then down the stretch of it, after Albright took some time off the clock, smothered him, clinched him, did whatever he had to do, which is veteran savvy stuff, by the way. That's why some fighters don't know how to survive, like a Fabio Wardley, like Frank Martin against Nahir Albright, why he was getting battered in the late rounds. Why Wardley couldn't slow down the fight is they don't know how to take air out of the football. They don't know how to take time off the clock and go to a prevent defense. Albright does. He's a savvy veteran, and that's what made him weather the storm. Davis, though, he had that little Kaioken burst and then got away from it. So Albright with a little bit of swelling over his right eye from a lot of the jab probably of Keyshawn Davis. Maybe a few left hooks, but here we go into the 12th. Davis, let's see if he summons up another 3 minutes of fury. And get into the clinch. And Albright, eats a sharp combination. What a combination by Keyshawn. 5, 6, 7 punch combination on the inside. Bursting and piercing through that high guard from different punch angles by Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn trying to close the show. I don't think Albright will let him. Too much pride and not enough investment to the body consistently in the 11th preceding round. Not out of the question. Davis has firepower, and he's showing it off here in the 11th. But I think too much pride and savvy from Albright to not make it out of this round. But maybe Davis can have his best moment here. Right hand over the top. Lands for Albright. Davis rolled it a little bit, but it knocked the sweat off his head. Nice jab by Albright. Keeps Davis at it. Oh, hard two-piece by Keyshawn Davis. Big right hand, left hook. Knocks the sweat right off of Albright. Those 2 best shots of the fight for Keyshawn up top. But Albright, again, he can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. It's hard to stop a guy when he's that close to the finish line. 3 hard body shots by Keyshawn and a punctuating right hand by Davis. A straight right hand up top after those 3 body shots. Now Albright is reeling. Albright on the ropes. The hand speed and the combinations and the firepower of Davis showing it off. Like I said rounds ago, that's what he's good at. And Davis, though, looks at the corner and gives the cutthroat. He just needs to stay focused and stay on it. 2 body shots by Davis. Albright is feeling it, but there's only a minute left for the veteran to get out of this. Little touch right hand by Albright, left hook by Albright. Fighting him off just enough to survive. Hard straight right hand to the body by Keyshawn. Beautiful straight right hand to the body by Keyshawn with Albright against the ropes. If he had done this more consistently, he'd have stopped Albright. 3 hard body shots by Albright. Albright showing a lot of gumption, taking this body work. He's in the blender now. He's getting it to the body. Everything's there for Keyshawn offensively now, but there's only 30 seconds left. It's going to be too little too late. This isn't going to be a Jermaine Ortiz stoppage. 20 seconds left. Nice finish to the fight by Keyshawn Davis. But if Davis would have done this more consistently in the second half of the fight, he would have stopped Nahir Albright, and he'll have to learn that from this fight. 10 seconds left, and that's it. It's going to be a clear, decisive win for Keyshawn Davis. Big left hook hurts Albright at the bell. Another big left hook. Albright on the stanky legs a little bit. Knees buckling. Davis makes his point. He smiles at him as if to say, you know, you can't fuck with me and all that. And he can't, but Albright held his own in there. But there's not a lot of respect from the Albright corner. They don't like Keyshawn Davis. Davis does enough to give the crowd something to cheer about in those last 2 rounds. He imposed himself, but again, if he would have done more of that, now I feel better. See, I wasn't as vocal in the Jermaine Ortiz fight about Keyshawn not stepping on the gas more because he dropped him 3 times and knocked him out in the 12th round. I felt like he could have done that, and you could listen to me on the Porter Way in the post-fight of our episode on that fight, and I said I think he could have got him out of there sooner if he was more consistent. And that's not what people want to hear after such a strong performance like that, but I really thought he played with his food in the Ortiz fight. He was more locked in for the Ortiz fight. He didn't do it to the degree he did tonight, but same thing tonight, man. If he turned it up more consistently in the second half of that fight with Albright from the 6th round on when he was starting to break him down to the body, he would have stopped Albright. But he tackles him in the 7th, and then he got out of rhythm from rounds 7, 8, 9, 10. He finds it again in the 11th and the 12th, but he puts it together too little too late. And a fighter with a chip on his shoulder, with a lot to fight for, who's a grown man with a family, who's got a lot of pride and savvy, you let him get too far ahead. You let him get too near the light at the end of the tunnel that he was going to pull through and bite down whatever punishment you served up in the last 5 minutes of the fight. You had to punish him in 7, 8, 9, 10, and then he would have been ready to go in one of those 10, 11, 12th rounds. So, but was it an excellent performance? No. Keyshawn Davis is an excellent fighter who has a lot of skills and tools and pop in both hands and speed and athleticism and defense. But was it an excellent performance? No, it could have been and it should have been. But some psychological lapses from Keyshawn Davis held him back. And a really resourceful, savvy vet, a savvy Philadelphia vet. And Nahir Albright didn't make it easy on him. But if he would have stayed on his P's and Q's and stayed sharp, he would have stopped Nahir Albright. He would have been too much for Nahir Albright. But he played around in there. He roughhoused in there, did a lot of shit like that, and wasn't always professional. Part of being the businessman means being professional, you know, and that's what stopped him, held him back from an excellent performance. But he is an excellent fighter. I think he beats Dalton Smith. I think he beats Teofimo Lopez. I think he beats, I think he might beat everybody in the 140-pound division. But I think he beats Gary Antoine Russell. I think he beats Dalton Smith. So Shakur's they're not going to fight. Richardson Hitchens left the division. So I think he beats the other 2 champions in Dalton Smith and Gary Antoine Russell. I think those are both good fights. I think those are both good fights, though. Dalton Smith is quality, and Gary Antoine Russell is a dog, and he's quality, and he has hand speed. But I think Keyshawn would beat him. So that's what I think. Emiliano kicks his silly butt? No, sir. Emiliano way too green for that. Battle Truth Airline, man, what the fuck you still complaining about? He won damn near every round. Just keeping it honest. Just holding him to a high standard. But yeah, I had it 11-1, 12-0. I did. It didn't live up to his standard. He expects to stop Nahir Albright, right? He didn't. So while he won, and while I'll give him I will mention all the wonderful tools and his wonderful skill set and his wonderful talent. It was not a wonderful performance. It was a decisive performance, but hey, he won. But there are still things. If the goal is to become the best fighter in the world, which I think is every fighter of his talent and caliber's goal, there are things to improve on that separate him from a Terrence Crawford, from a lot of great fighters. Okay, he shows the potential to be great, but he isn't great yet. He could be great if he locks in a little bit more consistently. And you're enabling a great talent by Keyshawn if you just slurp him for a performance like this, because that sends the message that this was good enough to be everything you can be and want to be. When it's not, there's more. He wouldn't have beat Devin Haney tonight, for example. Now I think he could beat Devin Haney. He has, in some elements of the sport, more of a repertoire than Haney offensively, right? But he still has some growth to do. One thing Devin Haney is a cold clinical professional who's focused and switched on for all 12 rounds right now. He's seasoned. He's gonna fight to the best of his potential. Had a bad game plan against Garcia, but also Garcia may just have his number. We'll never find out until they rematch each other. But I think it takes a lot to be the best fighter in the world, man. Even Shakur, as great as he looked against Tio, didn't open up offensively enough. Inoue had his chin exposed. Inoue might be the best fighter in the world. He had his chin exposed a number of times against Nakatani. There's always little things to improve on unless you have a Crawford Spence, an Inoue Fulton, a Hopkins Trinidad, a Pacquiao Cotto. Unless you just have a bona fide masterpiece, there's always things to sharpen up to be a little bit better. So, Mins says Haney picks him apart and takes away Keyshawn's best attributes. Well, one thing I did note is Keyshawn likes to snipe with the right hand over the top. And Devin, and there was a few times he couldn't do that often against Albright, be a right hand sniper, because Albright is just as long as him and had an educated jab, so he couldn't come over the top of that jab a lot. That would be a problem against Haney. Here's the thing, though: he's a better combination puncher than Haney, and he targets they're both good body punchers. Haney showed that against Lomachenko. I think Keyshawn, if he reaches his potential, is a better offensive fighter than Devin Haney. He has a little bit more of a two-handed. Now, Haney is more of a single punch, like he caught Norman with the check left hook. It's tough. I think, let me try and find the words for this. Keyshawn's a better combination puncher. Devin can slow it down and snipe you more. So Keyshawn is too patient sometimes. That's why I think he could have stopped Jermaine sooner. That's why I think he could have stopped Albright tonight if he kept his foot on the gas more. If he doesn't keep his foot on the gas and come with some volume against Haney, he'll get outboxed. But if he goes jab for jab with Devin, matches him in the battle of the jab, tries to, at least is consistent with his jab like Devin is, and Keyshawn's got an excellent jab too. If he's consistent with his jab, I think he has a bit more of an offensive repertoire than Devin Haney. He's a better combination puncher than Devin Haney, but Devin Haney is smarter than him, more seasoned than him, and right now bigger than him. Keyshawn, he'll grow into welterweight, but Devin looks big as shit at welterweight right now. I mean, he's really filled in at welterweight, and I think his power is different at welterweight than it was at 40 and 35. So right now, if they signed a contract to fight at 147, I would favor Devin Haney. But Keyshawn's got half the amount of professional fights, even though they're the same age. And I still think if Keyshawn sharpens up a little bit, he has the skill set and the offensive weaponry to beat a Devin Haney in a really high-level fight. But right now, you got to give the edge to Devin Haney, I would say. So, there you go. Battle Truth's hairline. Keyshawn cooked him, and motherfuckers are crying. Well, actually, you're crying while we're talking boxing. And if you think this was some masterpiece, like this was some, De La Hoya even against Castillejo or Crawford. Remember Crawford? You do remember Crawford didn't go the distance for 7 years at welterweight, right? He knocked out every welterweight he ever fought. And a lot of those guys were better fighters, or at least more decorated, accomplished fighters than Nahir Albright. And Keyshawn just went the distance with him. Like this wasn't a pound for pound elite level performance. It was a uneven performance by a pound for pound talent. That's what the truth is. But hey, do what you do. Sean, you're just a hater. How could I be a hater when I was talking about all the different wonderful things Keyshawn knows how to do? How he could trap you into a right hand. He could lead with a jab and set up a combination. He's slick. He's mean. He's physical in the clinches. He's an excellent body punch. He's got an excellent jab to the body of the head. All those different things, but he didn't put it all together. And that's why it was a performance outside of the last round and a half or so, that in the 6th round, that left you wanting more. And again, I know what I'm looking at. Nahir Albright is crafty. He makes it difficult for you to look good. He is defensively responsible. He has a very high IQ. He is kind of slick, and long. But there you go. I think Terrence Crawford would have got the job done. Would have found a way to stop a guy like this. Terrence Crawford fought guys like that, like Hank Lundy, who were crafty Philly vets that knew how to punch off rhythm and were slick and all that. Tevin Farmer, right? Tevin Farmer is another one of those kind of guys. But A-level fighters found a way to get it done against them with stoppages. Although Farmer, I don't know if he ever got stopped in his prime. I mean, Kid Austin did it, but that's coming off a couple of wars with Zepeda and Murataya. So, but you get the point. Hank Lundy, that still stands. So you ignore the fact Ryan was on PEDs. No, I don't. I was the only one asking Ryan to his face about why should anyone believe him about PEDs. You're just used to this dick riding culture of sports and media that as soon as someone says something that's not glowing praise about your favorite fighters, you get in your feelings, okay? Like, I said he was going to win the fight. He won the fight. Anyways. Real ones know what's up. I'll just say that. Keyshawn stops Ryan. I don't know about that. He's got more skills than Ryan Garcia, but Ryan is a crazy talent with his hand speed and punching power. So I don't know. Davis is a better skill set. Like, he has a lot more in his bag than Ryan Garcia, but it's hard to overcome when Ryan's right, his speed and power, and that's a really good fight, him and Keyshawn. And Ryan and Devin are both bigger than him right now. They've both filled out at welterweight, and Keyshawn is perhaps headed to welterweight, but right now he's still kind of a thin, wiry, strong, super lightweight. And so was Terrence Crawford once upon a time. So, he does have that deceptive, wiry strength to him for sure. But I don't know about that. Thank you for the super chat, Steve Santiago. Thank you, brother. Keyshawn will definitely beat Ryan. You are tripping. I don't know. I don't know about that. Right now, I don't know. I don't know about that. He doesn't always stay consistent. And if something's coming back, if those missiles are coming back his way, I don't know, man. I'm just saying I don't know about that. I'm not even picking either guy right now. I'm just like, oh, Keyshawn beats Ryan. I don't know about that. I'd have to see that. I'd have to see that fight. Ryan is very less skilled than Keyshawn. Yeah, he is, but he punches harder. And he's got as much speed, if not a little bit more. And he's a little bit bigger than he is right now. So if they line it up next, I don't know. I agree. He's more skilled than Ryan Garcia, but Ryan's a problem right now. So, Sean, you got to be more professional with your analysis. You're better than this, bro. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. We've talked about all the technical aspects, and the unprofessional part was just people getting in the chat and crying at me because I have a different viewpoint of the performance than they do. So, Keyshawn, I said I think Keyshawn beats Russell, and I think he beats Dalton Smith. Thank you, North Carolina. Ryan is on PEDs. A lot of them probably are, though. Yeah, he probably is. Probably a lot of them are. Um, let's see what else. All right, anything else, guys, before we get out of here, and then I'll do my reaction video. Keyshawn versus Tiger. Tiger is really talented too. Tiger. But Tiger needs to step up a few more levels to get in that bracket. Tiger should fight Rohan Polanco or someone like that. But Tiger is very talented too. So why are they trying to force Sean to kiss Keyshawn's ass? They're front runners, bro. They weren't anywhere to be found in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th rounds when the fight was dragging on. Then their guy gets a nice spurt at the end of the fight, and it got them all hyper and excited, and now they want to get in the chat and cry. It's annoying. But Bam versus Inoue. I think Inoue right now. I think Bam right now is headed more into his peak, and Inoue's exiting his. But I think Inoue is still bigger than Bam, and at that level, I think it'd be a great bigger man beats a great smaller man. But I think in a pound for pound sense right now, Bam is actually probably a little bit better than Inoue. But Inoue is so much more accomplished, and he's bigger, and I think right now, jumping up to 22, and when he's about to have his first fight. I interviewed Antonio Vargas today, actually, the guy who's fighting Bam for the WBA bantamweight title. Good interview. That fight might be fun. I don't pick anyone over Bam right now, but if Bam were to go up to 22, I would favor Inoue. But I do think Inoue's exiting his peak, or has exited it, and he's in the second half of his prime, and Bam is about to enter his real peak, or is in it right now, and is gonna be in it for a number of years. So I think in a pound for pound sense, to take accomplishments out of it, I think Bam is a little bit better than Inoue right now. But he's got a lot of catching up to do to live up to the greatness of Inoue. So, what was my thoughts on the Kelvin fight? He got the job done. That was an ugly fight. Dobson landed some of the best punches of the fight to the body, but couldn't really find anything up top. Kelvin tied him up every time he got close. And then punctuated the 10th round with a good enough straight left hand, a good enough left uppercut in a close, ugly fight to win the fight. He won the fight. He won. But wasn't that impressive. Keon Davis, to me, is better than Kelvin Davis. Keon is sharp, has a future. Kelvin Davis, not as much. And then Keyshawn Davis is an excellent pound-for-pound talent who just has to shore up some discipline in his approach. And I think he could have stopped Albright tonight if he was a little bit more consistent. But I still think he's a pound-for-pound talent, who could definitely get to the top 10 in the next year or two. Needs the right opportunities in terms of opponents, and I think he could beat anybody at 140. I think right now, though, at 147, I don't know about beating Devin Haney and Brian Norman and Ryan Garcia. I think all three of those fights are tough fights for Keyshawn, where I don't necessarily favor him, and I'm not saying right away he loses to those guys either. But I think he should find a way to get to a title fight at 140. It's going to be tough because he's very dangerous. And I don't think Dalton Smith his team would look to take that fight. I don't think Gary Antoine Russell's team would look to take that fight. I don't think Lamont Roach would look to take that fight. Isak Cruz would look to take that fight. He might have to just settle with fighting Oscar Duarte for a vacant IBF title. I think he stops Duarte. But yeah, I think 147, I think he needs a little bit more seasoning. I think those guys are more seasoned as pros, you know, and then the physical, and then Brian Norman is just more physically filled out right now than him. And I loved what I saw from Brian Norman against a way overmatched opponent in Josh Wagner, but I liked what I saw. So I think those three fighters are the best fighters at welterweight. Haney number one, Garcia number two, Norman number three. I think Haney and Garcia got to see each other to prove once and for all what's what and who's the best welterweight in the world and who's the better fighter head to head between them. But I think Norman is number three behind them. I think he is. And you know, Rolly's a wild card. So I think Keyshawn, when the time is right, could be any of those guys. I think, you know, specifically talking Haney and Garcia, who I got 1 and 2. But right now, I think, you know, he needs to still grow into his own. Even, you know, at 27, he started later than those guys because of the Olympics. And that got him the silver medal in the pedigree. But it also has him behind the 8 ball a little bit in number of fights he's had as a pro. So I think, you know, a Duarte fight is realistic. I think he wins that fight, pick up a belt at 140, then transition to 147, fight someone quality there. And then, you know, after that, he'll be fully ready and perhaps filled out in his frame for the top welterweights. So Devin's number one, quit Sean. I mean, I think he's the best welterweight in the world. You know you're doing a good job when everyone thinks you're hating on their guy. The Devin fans are thinking I'm hating on Devin Haney. The Keyshawn fans think I'm hating on Keyshawn Davis. And now maybe the Ryan Garcia fans will be mad because I said, yeah, he probably is on PEDs, and many of them probably are. And I have him number 2 at welterweight. So it is what it is. Ryan is not that good, Sean. Barrios was tailor-made for Ryan. I don't know. I think he's pretty good. The two things that Tank Davis and Rolly Romero have in common is twitchiness and eraser power. And Keyshawn is twitchy. He doesn't have eraser power. He's a good puncher. He has good pop. He has power. But he's not got the kind of one punch, oh shit, now I'm going to have to keep my hands in my pocket all night kind of power that Tank Davis and Rolly Romero have. They have that single shot power. Now Keyshawn has a powerful right hand, but I don't think he's cracking like they are. And I think, like, if their power is a 10, he's like an 8.5. An 8, 9, 8.5, 8.5, I think, more likely. And he's more of a combination puncher with his firepower, as you saw against Albright. I mean, and you saw Albright held up to the last 5 minutes or so of vicious combinations from Keyshawn, and he made it to the final bell. Point being, if you're a combination puncher, more than a one-punch eraser kind of guy, then that means the guy has more opportunities to punch with you and find that left hook like Ryan. So, but if you're a one-punch guy and you can time him one punch for one punch like Rolly did hook for hook, like Tank did with the pot shot left hand, set his ass down, and then that's a different element that can neutralize Ryan Garcia in his single punch output with the left hook. But if you're a combination puncher, then he has more time to get it off in between your shots. And Keyshawn's better than Rolly, but styles also make fights to a degree. And so those are the two wrinkles proven to be Ryan's kryptonite. Now, that doesn't mean Keyshawn doesn't beat him. Keyshawn brings a lot more to the table than those two fighters do in several other areas. He's way longer than Tank. He has a way better jab than Tank. He has more output than Tank. But and then in Rolly, he's just better than Rolly. But Rolly is a little bit more filled out and stronger than him. Rolly is very twitchy, just like he's twitchy, but he has single punch erase power. And those are the two commonalities between Davis, Gervonta, and Rolly Romero. So those are the two things we know if you put together can beat Ryan Garcia. We don't know if everything Keyshawn puts together beats Ryan Garcia. It might. It might, but I would have to see it to find out. So Keyshawn has that Bud kind of power. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Bud Crawford put Victor Postal down twice. He knocked Julius Ndongo out. He knocked Jeff Horn out. He knocked Kaviaskis out. He knocked, like, it's similar. I hear what you're saying. Like, he punches like Crawford a little bit. He's got wiry, deceptive strength like Crawford. He's a nasty body puncher like Crawford. He's mean like Crawford. He could put combinations together like Crawford. He could counter like Crawford. He could lead behind a jab like Crawford. But you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe when he starts going, because Crawford went the distance with a John Molina. No, he didn't. He knocked him out. So you know what I mean? Like, Crawford closed the show, and maybe you're right. Maybe the power is similar. It's just that Keyshawn wasn't as disciplined as Crawford was in those performances. Crawford would at some point turn up the volume and consistently do it and chop you out of there, chop you down, and eventually get you out of there. Keyshawn didn't do that tonight. He got distracted by throwing him to the canvas, by making a lot of faces over and over, by roughhousing in the clinches instead of just staying on the job, breaking Albright down, eventually getting him out of there, which he had the skill set to do, but didn't do it. So that's why I can't say he's like Crawford just yet. Anyways, I think I've made my points. Thank you, guys. Rolly isn't a scrub. No, he's not a scrub. Rolly isn't a scrub. I'm just saying Keyshawn overall is a better, definitely more skilled fighter than him, but Rolly is no slouch at all. Rolly is a devastating puncher, and he's twitchy and awkward. So tonight's fights were wax as pugilist. Bud is not really a one-punch knockout artist either, Sean. That comp is actually solid. It's a solid comparison. I've made that comparison. I've asked Terrence Crawford after he knocked out Baranchyk about Keyshawn Davis. Like, I have the interviews. You could look it up. There's like this. That's nothing new to me. But I'm just saying tonight, some of the things he did were not Crawford-like. Like that stuff about comparing him to Terrence is an old comparison for me. Here, let me see. Let me see. Like, I'll show you this. After he knocked out Baranchyk, I was there.
You know, Keyshawn, he's
Oops.
Whoa.
has been, man, you know, Keyshawn, he's credited you and Bomac for his counterpunching. It's like what we saw tonight, man. Could just take us through that, man. How he's been able to grasp those concepts inside the gym that you and Bomac try to show him.
Man, Keyshawn, a natural counterpuncher. You know, he's an offense-minded fighter. So everything that you see tonight is Keyshawn. You know, we just sharpened it up a little bit.
Whatever he say is right.
You know, early in the fight, man, you were yelling some things at him. Used the jab to stop his movement, but at a certain point, you stopped. Did you stop because you saw he had it under control?
Yeah, he looked at me. I told him, you know what I mean, good body shot. You know, start going down to that body. He started going to the body, slowing him down. And, you know what I mean, his punches, you know what I mean, was sharp. And I see he had everything under control.
What do you think? I know you're a fan at the end of the day, too, as a fighter. What do you think of Davis and Davis?
Oh, man, it'll be a tremendous fight. You know, you got two talented fighters. You know, both of them counterpunchers, both of them smart. Tank might have a little more power, you know, but Keyshawn got power too. So, you know, it'll be a great fight, and I think Keyshawn will win.
He's talked about the similarities you guys have, long arms.
Oh, see, similarities. Oh, what do you know?
But can still counterpunch on the inside. But how are you guys different, you and Keyshawn?
Man, we different in a lot of ways. He have his style, I have my style. You know, we both got great styles, and Keyshawn gonna be around for a long time.
You more excited on nights like these where someone close to you wins a title as opposed to even when you win one? Or?
Man, I'm excited on both, man. I'm just happy for him. He worked hard to get where he at, and the sky's the limit for that dude. I see a bright future in him, and he gonna do big things in the sport of boxing.
And lastly, man, with the big fights being in Riyadh, right? And
Las Vegas.
For sure?
Yeah. Given that the sport of boxing been a couple of years or high in London and Paris. Yeah, for sure. Because American boxing not going nowhere. Other countries, pay-per-view.
Anyway, yeah, I even asked him, I remember asking Bud in another interview about how the trajectory of how they throw punches is similar too. So, yeah, I mean, I've known there's similarities between Keyshawn and Terrence Crawford for a long time. Abdullah Mason, too, and Terrence Crawford. They're all lengthy guys with wiry power at the end of the shot, can counter, can lead. Abdullah has a lot more seasoning to go, but his potential is enormous. I mean, he has electricity in his fist and great hand speed and punching power and length. So I think Abdullah's upside might be the best right now in the sport, alongside like Moses Italma and maybe a few others that aren't coming to mind. But anyways, yeah, I think Keyshawn beats Gervonta Davis. I think he's a little too long for him and a little too busy, a little too well-rounded, young and ambitious. Davis has a lot. The other Davis, Gervonta Davis, has a lot of proving to do in his next performance to make people believers again. So, yeah, that's it. That's all. Dominant, very decisive performance. Yeah, I think he could get better. I think he could tighten things up, and I've explained all the reasons why. So that's it, and that's all. I'm gonna get something to eat, drop this reaction video. I hope you guys enjoyed the chat. Thank you, Maria, for moderating. Thank you, everybody, for hopped in the chat. I appreciated it, good and bad. So you guys have a great rest of the night, and I'll see you on Sean's show. I'll see you in the morning with Raheem, and I'll see you in a couple minutes if you're going to check out the post-fight reaction video, which is just going to be a bunch of stuff you guys already heard if you were on the live. So later, guys.